Chapter 482. The sect leader of the Burning Sun sect and the others looked at each other in shock. Then, they bitterly smiled and finally sighed with emotion. Read the full text. Good boy, good boy, good boy. The Grand Elder of the Burning Sun sect sighed. This boy was a disciple of the Burning Sun sect. He had slaughtered the 100 Refinements workshop in anger. On this day, another 2 hours quickly passed. It was already afternoon. Lin Tian walked out of his wooden house and walked along a path towards the Burning Sun Great Hall. Along the way, there were many Burning Sun sect disciples bustling about. After seeing Lin Tian, they were even more respectful than before. Senior Brother Lin Tian. Senior Brother Lin Tian. Senior Brother Lin Tian. Everyone greeted Lin Tian one after another. Their faces were filled with excitement, and their eyes were filled with reverence. Lin Tian didn't know what was going on, but he still nodded at everyone in response. Soon, he arrived at the Burning Sun Great Hall. Sect leader, he knocked on the door. Lin Tian? A voice sounded in the Burning Sun Great Hall. Then, the door opened with a creak. Come in. The sect leader of the Burning Sun sect personally opened the door with a smile on his face. Sect leader, what happened to you? You look quite strange. Lin Tian was curious. Tu Ming and the other elders were in the Great Hall. Even the Grand Elder was here. After hearing this, they couldn't help but laugh. Boy, you were the one who destroyed the 100 Refinements workshop, right? Tu Ming was very direct. Lin Tian was slightly taken aback. Then, he understood why all the Burning Sun sect disciples were looking at him with such fervent and worshipful expressions. He also understood why the sect leader of the Burning Sun sect and the others had such strange expressions. So it was like this. He nodded and said, I was the one who destroyed it. Since this matter had already spread, he naturally wouldn't hide it. The Grand Elder of the Burning Sun sect and the others nodded. Sure enough, it was exactly as they had guessed. Of course, this matter didn't need to waste energy guessing. It could be easily figured out. Speaking of which, the 7 Profound Pavilion, Elder Yang Xiu asked. Hearing this, everyone turned to look at Lin Tian. Before this, Lin Tian had taken out many resources and martial skills, including the strongest martial skills of the 7 Mysteries Pavilion. Now that they heard that the 100 Refinements workshop had been destroyed, they couldn't help but think of the 7 Mysteries Pavilion. After destroying the 100 Refinements workshop, I went to the 7 Mysteries Pavilion. However, I did not kill anyone in the 7 Mysteries Pavilion. I only destroyed the 7 Mysteries Pavilions, 7 Mysteries Pavilions, 7 Mysteries Pavilions, 7 Mysteries Pavilions martial skills and cultivation technique copies, as well as 90% of their accumulated resources. Lin Tiandao. His words were simple, but the Burning Sun sect master and the others looked at each other in dismay. The 7 Mysteries Palace was the symbol of the 7 Mysteries Pavilion, yet it had actually been destroyed. Moreover, all the copies of the martial arts techniques had been taken away. 90% of the resources that had been accumulated over the years had been taken away. This was practically a robbery. However, the looting made them feel great. Awesome. How satisfying. Piss those bastards off. Tu Ming laughed. He felt that Lin Tian's actions were more satisfying than slaughtering the 7 Mysteries Pavilion. He could already imagine how miserable the 7 Mysteries Pavilion's days would be in the future. All the copies of the martial arts techniques had been taken away, 90% of the resources had been lost, and the 7 Mysteries Palace had been destroyed. This was simply a gloomy world. The 7 Mysteries Pavilion Master and the others probably had the heart to die. Well done. Even the usually calm Elder Luo, you could not help but say such a sentence. The Burning Sun sect's Grand Elder looked at Lin Tian and nodded in satisfaction. His ruddy face was filled with a kind smile. Lin Tian stepped forward and said, Grand Elder, I have something to hand over to the sect. Oh, what is it? The Grand Elder was curious. Lin Tian waved his right hand, and a bright treasured saber appeared in his hand. It flickered with a cold light, and immortal pressure spread out. Facing this immortal pressure, everyone trembled, and they felt their hearts suddenly thump. This is the Burning Sun sect master and the others were startled. Lin Tian said, "It's a quasi-immortal treasure saber. I've engraved rank 6 immortal increasing runes on it. It's comparable to a top-notch quasi-sacred weapon. Under immortal treasures, there's absolutely no weapon that can contend against it. Any supreme treasure can shatter it." He spent a day to engrave the immortal increasing runes on the treasured saber, and then handed it over to the Burning Sun sect as a sect guarding treasure. Although it was only a quasi-immortal treasure, it could be considered a top-notch weapon in the first heaven. The Burning Sun sect's Grand Elder took the treasured saber and injected a bit of divine power. Instantly, the treasured saber hissed, and a sharp saber chi shot out, almost shattering the Burning Sun Hall. The Burning Sun sect's sect master and the others were so shocked that they felt a chill down their spines. "Good saber." The Grand Elder's eyes were full of shrewdness, but then he looked at Lin Tian and said, "Child, this saber is very good. You should keep it for yourself." As an elder, the Burning Sun sect's Grand Elder always thought of the younger generation. "Don't worry, Grand Elder. This disciple has more quasi-immortal treasures like this." Lin Tian. Hearing this, the Grand Elder put away the divine saber and placed it in the depths of the Burning Sun Hall as a sect guarding immortal treasure. Tu Miao patted Lin Tian's shoulder. "Kid, you're too considerate. Such a sect's quasi-immortal treasure was really terrifying." "It's my duty," Lin Tian said with a smile. "Is that so? Kid, do you have any other good things to take out?" Tu Miao joked. "Yes." Lin Tian nodded. Tu Miao was a little surprised. Really? He was just joking, but he didn't expect Lin Tian to give a positive answer, which made him a little surprised. Now, Lin Tian had taken out a quasi-immortal treasure, but now he said there was more. Could it be that there was something more amazing than a quasi-immortal treasure? "Yes, but it will take some time," Lin Tian said with a smile. The Burning Sun sect's Grand Elder was a little surprised. "Let's go outside." Lin Tian. The Burning Sun sect's Grand Elder and the others followed Lin Tian out of the Burning Sun Hall. Then they were all moved and their expressions changed. They saw that Lin Tian was actually engraving array patterns along the Burning Sun sect. These array patterns were very complicated and profound, and none of them could understand them. However, although they couldn't understand, they could feel an extremely terrifying killing intent intertwining. With every array pattern Lin Tian engraved, this killing intent became more terrifying. Just like this, time passed by minute. In the blink of an eye, it was the morning of the third day. After 2 days, at this time, when the morning sun shone, Lin Tian finally stopped, looking a little tired. "It's done," he said to the Burning Sun sect's Grand Elder and the others. In 2 days, he rested a total of 2 times and engraved a total of 3 eternal triangular killing arrays on the Burning Sun sect. During this process, not only were the Burning Sun sect's Grand Elder and a few other important figures of the sect watching, but the other ordinary disciples were also watching. "Seen your brother Lin Tian? Did he engrave a killing array?" A disciple muttered to himself. In the process of Lin Tian engraving the array, these onlooking disciples all felt an extremely terrifying killing intent. That killing intent seemed to be able to split the sky and shatter the earth. The Burning Sun sect's Grand Elder and the others stepped forward, each of their eyes flashing with a bright light. "It's a killing array?" the Burning Sun sect's Grand Elder asked. Lin Tian nodded. "The eternal triangular killing array can kill a powerhouse at the 4th heaven of the Ascension realm and block everyone below the Great Tao realm. This was the ultimate killing array created by the founder of the Array Manipulation Master lineage. It gathered the profound meaning of the Array Tao, and its power was boundless. The Grand Elders all trembled. They were all stunned. At the same time, some of the other Burning Sun sect's disciples were also shocked, their eyeballs almost popping out. It can kill a powerhouse at the 4th heaven of the Ascension realm? It can block everyone below the Great Tao realm? Tu Miao repeated this sentence, feeling a wave of shock in his heart. This was really more valuable than a pseudo-immortal artifact. Lin Tian chuckled. With a slight movement of his divine sense, he passed the seal to the Grand Elder, the Burning Sun sect's Grand Elder, and the 4 elders to activate the array. Good, good. The Burning Sun sect's Grand Elder was excited. Tu Miao, Luo Yu, and the others were also excited. The Grand Elder had stepped into the Ascension realm and could live for at least another 1,000 years. Then, with a top-notch pseudo-immortal artifact guarding the sect, and now with such a terrifying killing array protecting the sect, the Burning Sun sect had simply turned into an immortal fortress. And all of this was thanks to Lin Tian. This made Tu Miao and the others really not know what to say to Lin Tian. They were only left with excitement. Time passed very quickly. Not long after, the scorching sun was already hanging high in the sky, and the scorching heat of the Sun Valley scattered over the land. Staring at the sky, Lin Tian narrowed his eyes, and the corners of his mouth curled up. On this day, he bid farewell to the Grand Elder and the others. Then he soared into the sky and directly shot out of the Burning Sun sect. The matters here were all settled. He was going to the Valley of the Harp. Whoosh! Soaring in the sky, the wind whistled in his ears, and his clothes fluttered. Lin Tian's speed was very fast, and the scenery on both sides of him also flew by quickly. After several hours, his speed slowed down, and he descended from the sky. As far as the eye could see, there was an exquisite valley in front of him. He could vaguely see that there were many pavilions and palaces in the valley, giving people a very solemn feeling. However, there was also a trace of ethereal aura, appearing slightly hazy. "I'm here," Lin Tian muttered to himself. In front of him was the Valley of the Harp. He strode forward. "Who's there?" Outside the Valley of the Harp, a few female disciples were guarding. When they saw someone walking towards the Valley of the Harp, they immediately came out to ask. Lin Tian stopped and said politely, "I'm the Burning Sun, Lu Jie." He was about to reveal his identity when he suddenly saw a woman walking by in the distance. It was Lu Jie, who had a good relationship with Ji Yu, so he directly called out to her. Lu Jie was about to practice her sword when she suddenly heard someone calling her, so she looked in the direction of the voice. When she saw Lin Tian, Lu Jie immediately revealed a shocked expression. "Senior, Lin Tian?" As she spoke, Lu Jie quickly ran over to this area. "Senior brother Lin, you've finally appeared. Where have you been for the past half a year?" Junior sister was worried to death. Lu Jie immediately said, "I went to another place to cultivate." Lin Tian smiled. Lu Jie nodded and did not ask any more questions. She directly pointed to the Valley of the Harp and smiled at Lin Tian. "All right, senior brother, I won't disturb you now. You can go and see junior sister." Lu Jie knew about the relationship between Lin Tian and the most outstanding female prodigy in her line. After half a year, Lin Tian suddenly appeared outside the Valley of the Harp. It was obvious that he was here for Ji Yu. How could she delay Lin Tian at this time? "Yes, thank you." Lin Tian smiled. He nodded at Lu Jie and strode towards the Valley of the Harp. Chapter 483. After entering the Valley of the Harp, Lin Tian's luck was rather good. He soon met an acquaintance, Shirku, who had a good relationship with Ji Yu. After not seeing each other for more than half a year, Shirku's cultivation had become much stronger. She took him to a lotus pond in the depths of the Valley of the Harp. As far as the eye could see, white lotuses bloomed on the surface of the pond. In the center was a square pavilion, which looked very simple and unadorned. Little junior sister has been following the Valley Master here to cultivate the white lotus sword technique. She should be out soon. Shirku said. Lin Tian nodded and thanked Shirku. The two of them were still quite a distance away from the center of the lotus pond, so they would not disturb the Valley Master of the Valley of the Harp and Ji Yu who were cultivating. After this, Shirku whispered a few words to Lin Tian, and then left with a smile. Lin Tian looked at the pavilion in the lotus pond, his expression somewhat gentle. He sat down on a piece of bluestone at the side. In the sky, the sun was blazing, and as time passed, it became gentle. In the blink of an eye, 2 hours passed. Creak! A soft sound came from the center of the lotus pond, and the pavilion was opened. "Little you, how do you feel?" "Well, in 3 months at most, I should be able to enter the Zephyr realm." "Very good. You are much stronger than I was before. A beautiful woman and a young girl walked out of the pavilion, walking along the small, winding path in the lotus pond. The beautiful woman was dressed in purple, and the young girl was dressed in white. Their temperaments were very unusual, especially the young girl in white. She was very young, but had an ethereal aura, as if a fairy from the ninth heaven had fallen to the mortal world. These two people, one was the valley master of the Valley of the Harp, Yu Wushuang, and the other was the most powerful genius disciple of the Valley of the Harp, Ji. Lin Tian chuckled. When the two people walked out of the lotus pond, he stood up and walked forward. Senior, little Yu. Yu Wushuang was shocked, and Ji Yu's expression also changed. But soon, their expressions changed again. It's you, Lin Tian. Yu Wushuang was surprised, but Ji Yu quickly walked over with a joyful expression. Where have you been for half a year? Ji Yu asked. An old drunkard had visited the Valley of the Harp and told Ji Yu that Lin Tian had gone to another place to cultivate and would take a long time to come back. However, an old drunkard didn't reveal the exact location of Lin Tian. Therefore, for the past half a year, Ji Yu had been thinking about this question. The old man sent me to another place to cultivate. Lin Tian said with a smile. I know. I'm asking where exactly did you go? Ji Yu whispered. Lin Tian smiled. I'll tell you about this later. Why? Is there a secret that you can't let me know? Another voice came from the side. Yu Wushuang stared at Lin Tian somewhat playfully, but she was still a little surprised. One had to know that she was a cultivator in the airborne realm, the master of the Valley of the Harp. However, just now, before Lin Tian spoke, she didn't sense Lin Tian's aura at all. At this moment, she carefully observed Lin Tian and found that Lin Tian had become like a black hole that was difficult to see through. Looking at Yu Wushuang, Lin Tian was a little embarrassed. It's nothing. Senior, don't think too much. When he was still in the Sea of Consciousness realm, he used the weapon control technique in the Valley of the Harp. At that time, for his safety, Yu Wushuang personally sent him back to the Burning Sun sect, which made him very grateful. One had to know that at that time, he was just an ordinary person, and Yu Wushuang was the master of a large sect. With such a noble status, she took the initiative to send him back to the Burning Sun sect. How could he not be grateful? Okay, it's rare for you to come back. You and Xiaoyu have a good chat. This old man won't disturb you too. Yu Wushuang said. Senior, what are you saying? You're in your prime. You have nothing to do with being called an old man. Lin Tian smiled. Yu Wushuang laughed. I like hearing that. In this world, there was no woman who didn't like to hear others call her young and beautiful. Although Yu Wushuang was the master of a large sect, she was still a human. As long as she was a human, it was difficult for her to avoid the vulgar. Okay, let's not talk about it anymore. Just like last time, let's see how you take you around. You can go anywhere. After saying that, Yu Wushuang quickly left. Let's go. I'll take you around. There are many things I want to ask you. Ji Yu said, I've already been around once. I'm very familiar with this place. Lin Tian smiled. The environment in the Valley of the Harp was very good. Birds were singing, flowers were fragrant, and immortal herbs were everywhere. It gave people a very pleasant feeling. The two walked side by side in the Valley of the Harp, quickly attracting the attention of many female disciples. It's Junior Ji Yu. The person next to her looks very familiar. That person seems to have been to our Valley of the Harp before. Yes, that's right. He's a disciple of the Burning Sun sect. His name is Lin Tian. Many female disciples were pointing and chattering in this direction. Why are you all crowding around? Disperse. Lu Jie walked over. With a whoosh, the surrounding female disciples suddenly dispersed like frightened little birds. Lu Jie rolled her eyes, nodded to Lin Tian and Ji Yu with a smile, and then walked away. The two of them walked into Zither Serene Valley. After not seeing each other for more than half a year, their relationship had grown closer. Lin Tianxian knew that Ji Yu had already reached the 9th layer of the Sea of Consciousness. Soon, she would be able to step into the realm of flight. How have you been these days? He asked. Pretty good. Every day is very peaceful. It's much better than when I first came here. Ji Yu said. That's good. Lin Tian nodded. How about you? How's your cultivation in the past half a year? Not bad. Jiyu said, looked at Lin Tian, and said, by the way, something happened not long ago. The 100 Refinements workshop was destroyed. Lin Tian nodded. You don't seem surprised at all? Jiyu was a little curious. Lin Tian smiled. What was there to be curious about? He was the one who destroyed the 100 Refinements workshop. He and Jiyu walked around the Valley of the Harp for a long time and walked through many places. They didn't stop until the sun was setting. By the way, have you been back to the Imperial City these days? He asked Jiyu. No, I haven't. Speaking of which, I've been out for a long time. I wonder how Grandpa is doing at home. Lin Tian said, you can rest assured. Zhu Yi is now the emperor of the Beiyin royal family, and he will take good care of old General. However, without you by his side, old General is completely alone. He should feel a little lonely sometimes. Jiyu nodded and whispered, I want to go back and see Grandpa. You have the same idea as me. Tell your master at night. We will set off tomorrow and go back to Beiyin. Lin Tian said with a smile. He left Beiyin for a few months and went to the second heaven for more than half a year. He had been away for too long. In Fongjin City, his sister Lin Shi was there, and Sushu was taking care of her. These two people were very important to him, just like Jiyu. Okay, Jiyu nodded. That night, Jiyu told Yu Wushuang about this matter. Yu Wushuang naturally agreed and reminded her to be careful. That night, the sky was dotted with stars, sprinkling silver light all over the sky. The night passed quickly. In the morning, Yu Wushuang personally sent Lin Tian and Jiyu to the Valley of the Harp and prepared excellent demon horses for them. Lin Tian, protect little Yu well. Yu Wushuang said to Lin Tiandao. Don't worry. With me here, no one in this heaven can hurt her. Lin Tiandao. With his current strength, it would not be difficult for him to sweep through this heaven realm. You are quite arrogant. Yu Wushuang played ball. Lin Tian smiled embarrassedly and said, It's nothing. Senior, don't tease me. The two said goodbye to Yu Wushuang and rode away on the two horses. Soon, they were far away. Why can't I see through this little guy? Yu Wushuang frowned and whispered as she stared at Lin Tian's back. After a while, she shook her head and turned to walk into the valley. The Guqin Valley was very far away from the northern flame Imperial City. Even if an airborne realm being were to travel by air, it would still take them 10 days to get there. Lin Tian and Jiyu were riding horses. Even though they were riding excellent demon horses personally selected by Yu Wushuang, it still took them a month to get to the outskirts of the Imperial City. Of course, they took a break every day during this period. After all, although demon horses were many times stronger than ordinary horses, it was impossible for them to travel nonstop for a month. They would die of exhaustion. The Northern Flame Imperial City was very large. The city walls were tall and majestic, showing the majesty of a king. We are back again. It has been a year. Both of them were a little emotional. Leading the demon horses, the two entered the city and quickly attracted the attention of the people in the city. Of course, it was not the two demon horses or Lin Tian who attracted the attention. It was Jiyu who attracted the attention because she was just too beautiful. Is it okay for you to attract so much attention? I'm just a background character. Lin Tian was speechless. Are you blaming me? Jiyu snickered. The Northern Flame Country was a big country. Many heroes gathered in the Imperial City on a daily basis. Seeing Jiyu's beauty, young people quickly came up and wanted to talk to her. These people were all in their early 20s. They were either the young masters of wealthy merchant families or extremely powerful young geniuses. All of them were extraordinary. Therefore, even though they saw a male companion beside Jiyu, they didn't care at all. They didn't put him in their eyes at all. However, these people were frightened by Lin Tian's indifferent gaze before they could get close, and they all trembled. That's right. He is that Lin Tian from back then. Suddenly, someone cried out. As soon as this was said, it immediately caused a commotion. Many people's faces changed drastically. Lin Tian? Is that the Lin Tian who destroyed the 3 major martial arts families in the Imperial City? Is it really him? That's right, it is him. In an instant, there was a huge commotion. Back then, After Zhu Wudao inherited the throne, he detained the old general. Lin Tian hijacked a prisoner carriage alone, then broke into the imperial city and destroyed the three major martial arts families, the Jiang family, the Duan family, and the Lung family. He was famous in the entire Northern Flame imperial city. Now, although a year had passed, people still remembered him when he appeared again. Beside him is old General Ji's daughter. Ji, Miss Ji? Seems like it. After recognizing Lin Tian, many people quickly recognized Ji. After that, the crowd on both sides of the street widened their eyes. Lin Tian and Ji were both geniuses whose names had spread throughout the Northern Flame imperial city. This was especially true for Lin Tian, whose name reverberated like thunder in the ears of the Northern Flame imperial city. A year ago, after the massacre of the three great martial clans, his name had long been memorized by the people of the Northern Flame imperial city. It was unforgettable. This was especially so for the few young men who were about to hit on Ji. At this moment, they were all covered in cold sweat. What were they trying to do just now? They were simply courting death. Lin Tian and Ji did not pay attention to the people around them as they walked in a certain direction. After about 2 hours, the two of them arrived in front of a majestic mansion. It was the great general's residence. There were two young soldiers standing guard in front of the great general's residence. When they saw someone approaching, they immediately went up to stop them. However, when they saw the faces of Lin Tian and Ji, they were shocked and hurriedly bowed to them. In the past, the great general's residence had encountered a great disaster. All the soldiers in the residence were killed, and even Ji Yuanshan was imprisoned. After that, Lin Tian broke into the palace and killed the new king, Zhu Wudao, forcing the Northern Flame imperial family to submit. The situation changed once again. The Northern Flame imperial family personally apologized to Ji Yuanshan and conferred him as the first national protector general. They also personally sent over new soldiers. These two soldiers came to the great general's residence at that time. At that time, Lin Tian and Ji had not yet gone to the sect. Naturally, the two of them recognized them. Lin Tian waved his hand and spoke politely. He asked the two soldiers to lead him, and Ji used demonic horse away. It's been a long time since I came back. After a year, Ji was a little happy to be back home. Let's go in and see the old general first, Lin Tian said with a smile. After being separated from his closest grandfather for a year, he could naturally understand Ji's feelings. The two of them entered the great general's residence. Soon, the people in the great general's residence came out to greet them. They were very respectful towards the two of them. However, when Lin Tian asked about the old general, the great general's residence's steward's expression did not look too good. The old general went to the battlefield. The situation is very, very bad. Chapter 484. Lin Tian frowned. Ji Yuanshan was almost 90 years old and had already resigned from his position as the great general. Why would he go to the battlefield again and the situation be so bad? One had to know that Ji Yuanshan had fought countless battles in his life and was famous in the surrounding empires. He had never been defeated before. How could the situation be so bad when such a person personally went to the battlefield? Ji seemed a little nervous as she looked at Lin Tian. It's fine, Lin Tian comforted. He knew that Ji was worried about Ji Yuanshan's safety. I'll go to the palace and ask. He immediately pulled Ji out of the general's residence and arrived at the palace gate. Who are you? Stop. In front of the imperial palace, the imperial soldiers guarding the gates stepped forward and sternly barked. Lin Tian. Lin Tian didn't waste any time. Tell them that I want to see Zhu Yi. With his current cultivation, he could actually fly into the Northern Flame Imperial Palace directly. However, if he were to fly into the Northern Flame Imperial Palace, it would more or less damage the imperial family's reputation. Currently, Zhu Yi was the emperor of the Northern Flame Imperial Palace, and he was friends with Zhu Yi. He naturally had to consider it. How dare you? How dare you call His Majesty by his name? You! The soldiers guarding the palace gate were furious. However, they soon thought of something, and their expressions changed. You're Lin Tian? Lin Tian barged into the palace and killed the new emperor of the Northern Flame Palace. After that, he pressured the royal family to elect Zhu Yi as the emperor. Almost everyone guarding the palace knew about him. Go and report. Lin Tian on Dao. The soldiers trembled in awe. They nodded repeatedly, and some of them immediately ran into the imperial palace. Ji frowned from time to time. After hearing from the old housekeeper that the situation was bad, she seemed a little uneasy. After all, her only family member was on the battlefield. Don't worry, the old general is brave and skilled in battle. His cultivation isn't weak either. Lin Tian comforted her. Ji nodded, and her beautiful brows relaxed quite a bit. Very quickly, an hour passed. At this time, the sound of hurried footsteps came from the palace. A young man in a purple gold dragon robe ran in. He was the current emperor of Beiyin, Zhu Yi. When he saw Lin Tian from afar, he was surprised and delighted. Lin Tian, it's really you're back? A year ago, Lin Tian had gone to the sect to cultivate. Zhu Yi knew about this. Now that Lin Tian had returned, he was very excited. When he heard the soldiers report, he immediately put down what he was doing and personally came out to greet him. There were several other figures behind him. Some were civil officials of the empire, and some were military generals. When they saw Lin Tian, they all bowed deeply with respectful expressions. Zhu Yi looked at Ji Yu and said, Miss Ji. After becoming the emperor of the Northern Flame country, Zhu Yi was exposed to many important matters between countries. This made Zhu Yi mature a lot. Now that they had parted for a year, he was very happy and excited to see Lin Tian and Ji Yu again. However, this could not hide the anxiety in his eyes, and his cheeks looked a little haggard. Zhu Yi, what's wrong? Your blood qi is not very good. Lin Tian frowned. His cultivation was very strong now, and his divine sense was very powerful. He could see the mental state of a person at a glance. Zhu Yi not only looked haggard, but his eyes were also a little bloodshot. His soul power and blood qi were much weaker than a normal young man. It was as if he had not slept for 10 days. Zhu Yi smiled bitterly. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. On the side, one of the generals said, Lord Lin, the Uros have invaded our borders, and more than 10 cities have already been lost. These days, His Majesty is truly... At this point, the general sighed, and his eyes were filled with anger. Lin Tian caught the deep anger in the military general's eyes and asked, Tell me what happened. Yes, Lord Lin. The military general said respectfully, Lord Lin, you should know that the Uros Empire, which is next to our Northern Flame, has always been our enemy. However, the strength of our two countries is about the same. No, when the old general was still in office, the Uros Empire was slightly stronger than our Northern Flame. After dozens of battles, the Uros Empire no longer dared to invade our Northern Flame territory because of the old general's reputation. They have always been very obedient. However, a while ago, the Uros Empire suddenly started invading our territory again. For some reason, this country's strength was much stronger than before. Our country's strength was also very strong. But this time, we were unable to withstand a single blow from the Uros Empire. In less than 4 months, we lost 13 cities. However, that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is, speaking until here, the military general clenched his fists, and his eyes were filled with anger. His lips trembled. They actually massacred the cities. The people of 13 cities were all killed. Massacred 13 cities? Lin Tian frowned. In a war between two countries, it was common for one country to take over the other country's cities. After taking over a city, the empire that took over the city would usually pacify the people in the city. After stabilizing the people's hearts, they would then reassign the people to guard the city. After all, occupying a city was to rule more territory. There was no substantial benefit in massacring all the people in the city. Moreover, massacring a city was too inhumane. Most kings felt that it would affect the country's fate, so they usually wouldn't massacre a city. In the history of wars between countries, massacring a city had only happened a few times since ancient times. Moreover, It was all because of some kind of deep hatred that couldn't be resolved. As a result, ordinary people were implicated. Such historical events could be counted on one hand. The Urose Empire had taken over 13 cities of the Northern Flame country and massacred 13 cities. This had never happened before. It was very cruel. In other words, it was inhumane. He glanced at Ji Yu beside him, then looked at Zhu Yi and said, just in time, I came because of the old general's return to the battlefield. As for the Urose Empire, I will help you out. With his current strength, it was easy for him to destroy the royal family of an empire. Stopping this war was no different from eating and drinking. Moreover, to be honest, the Urose Empire's actions made him feel a little cold. Massacring 13 cities and implicating ordinary people was too much. Zhu Yi was overjoyed. However, his expression soon dimmed. This war is very difficult to handle. A few spiritual Sea Realm guests from the royal family have died. Even the fourth ancestor of my clan and a few powerful elders of the Northern Flame Imperial Academy have died. Zhu Yi smiled bitterly. He knew that Lin Tian was very powerful and cultivated in the sect. However, this matter was very troublesome. 10 days ago, the old general wanted to go to the battlefield personally after learning about this matter. I tried my best to stop him, but the old general didn't listen to me. The old general is dedicated to the country and the people of Northern Flame. Sometimes he can be very stubborn. I know this. It's normal that you can't persuade him. Lin Tian nodded. When Zhu Wudao succeeded the throne, he imprisoned Ji Yuanshan and paraded him through the streets. At that time, he asked Ji Yuanshan if he would still serve the royal family of Northern Flame if he could turn back time. At that time, Ji Yuanshan gave a firm answer after a moment of silence. The answer was for the people. Now, the Urose Empire had cruelly massacred the people of 13 cities of Northern Flame. Ji Yuanshan must have been extremely angry and wanted to go to war. As for the deaths of the spiritual Sea Realm experts, it is indeed a little troublesome. The death of several Sea of Consciousness Realm experts in a war between ordinary empires was indeed unusual. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was a big problem. It should be known that for ordinary empires, Sea of Consciousness Realm experts were lofty existences. Now that several experts of this level had died in the war with Yuru Kingdom, it was no wonder that Zhu Yi's face was so haggard. He looked at Zhu Shi and said, I have understood the general situation. Later, Ji Yu and I will go to the border battlefield personally. Zhu Yi smiled bitterly. Lin Tian, I know you are very powerful. However, this time it is really dangerous. He really treated Lin Tian as a friend. He was very happy that Lin Tian wanted to help him out. However, he was more worried that Lin Tian and Ji Yu would also meet with misfortune at the border. Now, I am thinking that no matter what, I have to bring the old general back in 3 days. Just as you said, the old general has sacrificed too much for the country and the people of Northern Flame. We should let the old general enjoy the rest of his life. Oh right, there is also Xian Qingyan. That guy has achieved some success in his cultivation and has also gone to the border battlefield. Before Lin Tian left Northern Flame, he gave Xian Yao many martial techniques, cultivation methods, and elixirs. After that, just as Lin Tian expected, with these martial techniques, cultivation methods, and elixirs, Xian Yao smoothly inherited the position of the head of the Xian family. She slowly transformed the Xian family into a martial arts family. There were many more powerful cultivators in the family. Xian Qingyun was Xian Yao's younger brother. Moreover, Lin Tian gave him many spirit-gathering rune scrolls and some spiritual herbs and elixirs before he left. He did not lack any resources. Therefore, his cultivation improved very quickly. Because he knew that Ji Yuanshan was Ji Yu's grandfather and that Ji Yu and Lin Tian were very close, Xian Qingyun immediately gathered some experts in the family and chased after Ji Yuanshan after he rushed to the battlefield. He said that he wanted to protect the future old master for Lin Tian. This guy is really... Lin Tian was speechless. When he first came to the imperial city to cultivate, other than Ji Yu, Xian Qingyun was his best friend. He called him brother-in-law and chased after him. He was very good to him. Now that he heard that this guy chased after Ji Yuanshan to the battlefield to protect the future old master for him, he felt both amused and touched. I will go to the border battlefield immediately. Find someone to lead the way for me, he said to Zhu Yi. Zhu Yi frowned and said, Lin Tian, it is really dangerous. I don't want you to get hurt. I will immediately. Zhu Yi wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Lin Tian. Don't worry. Lin Tian took a step forward and patted Zhu Yi's shoulder with a smile. Ji Yu and I will be fine. We will go to the border and quickly bring the old general and Exine Qingyan back. Of course, we will also end the war. You just need to prepare a welcome banquet. This, Zhu Yi hesitated. In the end, he did not refuse and said, Then, I will go with you. You are the emperor of a country. Why are you going to the battlefield in person? Lin Tian said with a smile. Hearing this, Zhu Yi suddenly felt a little embarrassed. Don't make fun of me. Staring at Lin Tian, his eyes were very determined. In short, if you want to go, then I will go with you. Lin Tian smiled. Okay, then let's go together. As the emperor of a country, it is also good to go to the border and take a look. If the emperor of a country went to the battlefield in person, it would greatly improve the battle chi of the soldiers at the border. In the future, Zhu Yi would also be respected by the soldiers of the empire. This was naturally a great thing. As for the safety of Zhu Yi, the current emperor, he did not care much. With his current strength, he could protect Zhu Yi well. Immediately, Lin Tian, Ji Yu, and Zhu Yi, led by a powerful general, went to the border. Because of Lin Tian's presence, the sovereign king's bodyguards who were supposed to follow Zhu Yi were all ordered to stay within the imperial city. Only the 4 horses galloped away, leaving behind a trail of dust. Soon, they were far away from the northern flame imperial city, kicking up a large cloud of dust. Chapter 485. Lin Tianwei was stunned. Urose had the help of a very powerful array manipulator. Very powerful? He repeated these words. Array manipulators had many methods and were very decisive in the war between empires. Therefore, the status of array manipulators was usually quite high. However, he was a little puzzled by Zhu Yi's deliberate mention of this point. From the looks of it, the array manipulator of Urose was not ordinary. Otherwise, Zhu Yi, the Emperor of Northern Flame, would not have emphasized it. Very powerful and strange. We invited a Tier 5 array manipulator, but he couldn't do anything. Zhu Yi's expression turned slightly ugly. Lin Tianwei frowned. Compared to ordinary empires, a Tier 5 array manipulator was already considered very powerful. However, he could not do anything against Urose. Could it be that a Tier 6 array manipulator was helping Urose? Tell me the details, he said. It would take about 3 days to travel from the imperial city to the border on a Fergana horse. He felt that it was better to know more about the war. Lord Lin, let me tell you, the general who led the way for the 3 of them spoke. He was far more familiar with the matters at the border than Zhu Yi. He said, usually ordinary soldiers will feel tired after fighting for a period of time. But this time, the soldiers of Urose are a little strange. It's as if they never know fatigue. They are as ferocious as wild beasts. Everyone's eyes are terrifying. It's as if they have deviated from humans. As he spoke, the general's expression was a little horrified. He said, and after the soldiers of Urose died on the battlefield, they could stand up again. They were clearly no longer breathing, but they could still move. Moreover, they were not afraid of swords and sabers. They were even more terrifying than when they were alive. Even if their heads were chopped off, they could still move and kill. Lin Tianwei frowned. Is there anything else? The general nodded. He seemed to have thought of a terrifying scene and said, Sometimes there will be bloody winds on the battlefield, and the sky will turn dark. Occasionally, one can see figures in the bloody winds. Those figures, they seem to be the people of the 13 cities that were lost. Some people saw them struggling in the bloody winds, like vengeful ghosts from hell. The figures of the dead? Souls? Lin Tian's eyes flashed with a faint light. If all of this was done by a formation manipulator, then the other party's level was probably very high. However, why would a matrix manipulator of this level interfere in a war between ordinary empires? Lin Tian, what's wrong? Jiyu asked. Nothing. Lin Tian shook his head. He comforted Jiyu again, telling Jiyu not to worry about Jiyu Anshan. After that, he didn't ask any more questions, and the horse sped up. Very quickly, 3 days passed. Kill! Kill them all! Charge! In front of them, shouts of killing could be heard. After 3 days, the group finally arrived at the border. Looking ahead, there was a vast plain in front of them. 2 groups of people were fighting. One group was the soldiers of the Northern Flame Country, and the other was the soldiers of the Black Luo Country. The weapons of the 2 sides clashed, and corpses kept falling down. Blood kept floating in the air, and then the ground was dyed red. This scene was very cruel, and it was a great visual impact to ordinary people. However, the 4 people here were not ordinary people. Jiyu was born in the general's residence. Zhu Yi was a prince, and the general had experienced many battles. They were not unfamiliar with such scenes, so they were not surprised. As for Lin Tian, needless to say, this kind of battle was not worth mentioning to him. Kill! A familiar shout rang out. Lin Tian looked in the direction of the voice and saw a young man charging out. This young man seemed to be the same age as him, but his strength was not bad. He was already at the 6th level of the Divine Vein realm, which was very good for his age. Lin Tianyi smiled as he recognized this person. Is that Xian Qingyan? Zhu Yi asked. Because they were too far away, he could not see clearly. It's him, Lin Tiandao. His cultivation was strong, and his eyesight was very good. Even though they were far away, he could see clearly. Zhu Yi nodded and said, let's go over quickly. The battlefield is very dangerous. We can't let anything happen to him. In the Northern Flame Imperial City, he had known Xian Qingyan for a long time. Later, because of Lin Tian, their relationship had undoubtedly improved over the past year. Seeing Xian Qingyan charging into the battlefield, Zhu Yi was naturally a little worried. He was afraid that Xian Qingyan would be injured. No hurry. Let's take a look first. Lin Tiandao. Standing here, he could already control the whole situation. He wanted to see how strong Xian Qingyan was now. Of course, he also wanted to see if the soldiers of the Black Luo Country were really as strange as the general had said. Kill! 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 On the battlefield, the shouts of killing were endless and deafening. Lin Tian looked at Xian Qingyan from afar and found that his combat strength was indeed not bad. In the 6th level of the Divine Vein realm, there should be few who could be his opponent. This was because the martial techniques he used were all of the Sea of Consciousness level. He shifted his gaze to look around. Not long after, he narrowed his eyes slightly. He realized that what the general had said was true. The soldiers of the Yuru Kingdom were in a very strange state. Not only were they filled with hostility, but their mobility had far exceeded their own limits. It felt as if the other party had been deliberately burning their potential, overdrawing their future lives to fight this battle. Puff! 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 Bright red blood continued to splatter. The situation on the battlefield was very bad. The soldiers of the Northern Flame Country were retreating in defeat. In the process, many soldiers of the Northern Flame Country died. Of course, the soldiers of the Black Luo Country also fell to the ground. But soon, the soldiers of the Black Luo Country who were originally dead stood up shakily. They waved the swords in their hands and attacked the soldiers of the Northern Flame Country like marionettes. The strange scene caused the soldiers of the Northern Flame Country to be terrified. Their formation was in chaos. As a result, the situation on the side of the Northern Flame Country became even worse. Dong! Suddenly, there was the sound of a drum in the camp of the Northern Flame Country. On a high platform in the camp, an old man was beating the drum. Each beat was louder than the previous one. When the drum beat sounded, the morale of the soldiers of the Northern Flame Country suddenly rose. They roared and killed the enemy valiantly. Its grandfather, Jiyu, was delighted. Lin Tian naturally saw it too. The person beating the drum was Ji Yuanshan. It had to be said that Ji Yuanshan's prestige in the army was indeed amazing. He stood on the high platform, and without saying anything, just a simple beat of the drum could increase the battle chi of the soldiers by several times. It made the soldiers who were originally frightened regain their fighting spirit. It was very shocking. Kill! 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 The soldiers of the Northern Flame country roared. Although there were people falling, no one was afraid anymore. All of this was because of Ji Yuanshan's drumbeat. Looking at the battlefield in front of him, Lin Tian was slightly moved. The general was fearless, and the soldiers under his command were not afraid. They were fighting to protect their home and to protect the common people. They knew that they might die if they charged forward, but they still charged forward fearlessly. It was a simple feeling to say, but it was not so simple to do. He was slightly moved. Lin Tian, Xine Qingyun is in danger. Zhu Yi shouted. Xine Qingyun was somewhat powerful, but because of this, he attracted the attention of the soldiers of Uros. A few strong cultivators surrounded him, causing Xine Qingyun to almost die. Most importantly, the dead soldiers of Uros stood up again. They were fearless and difficult to kill. This caused Xine Qingyun to quickly fall into a predicament and be forced into a difficult situation. I'm watching. Lin Tianyi stared at the battlefield. He was naturally watching Xine Qingyun. He knew even without Zhu Yi's words. Looking forward, he said to Ji Yu, take a detour with them and go to the camp to see the old general. I'll go to the battlefield. Okay. Ji Yu nodded and said softly, be careful. Lin Tian nodded. In a flash, he disappeared from the spot. His speed was as if he had teleported. Zhu Yi and the generals beside him widened their eyes. It was too fast. They didn't even see how Lin Tian moved. Not only them, but even Ji Yu, who was at the ninth sky of the Sea of Consciousness, was surprised. Even someone as powerful as her didn't see how Lin Tian moved. This guy, Ji Yu whispered. Miss Ji, shall we go to the old general first? Zhu Yi asked. Okay. Ji Yu nodded. The general led the way. The three of them walked quickly to the camp of the Northern Flame. Clang! 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 On the battlefield, swords and sabers clashed continuously. Battle cries rang out continuously, intertwining in the air and stirring up dust and sand. Xine Qingyun was in a bad situation. He was besieged by three generals at the sixth sky of the Divine Range. You're strong, but it's a pity. You're going to die soon. After you die, your Northern Flame will also be destroyed soon. You think you can turn the situation around with that old man Ji Yuanshan on the battlefield? Dream on. After this, not only your Northern Flame, but also the surrounding empires, no, all the empires in this world will be devoured by my Black Flame. Soon, everything in this world will belong to my Black Flame. The three generals of Black Flame were middle-aged. Their eyes were cruel, and they had sinister smiles. Their attacks were very insidious. Devour all the empires? You really dare to brag. Xine Qingyun sneered and cursed. His face was very ugly. While fighting the three of them, he also had to take care of the Black Luo soldiers who were constantly coming back from the dead. He was really forced to the point of being unable to deal with them. Hearing Xine Qingyun's words, the three generals of Black Flame snorted. You don't understand. Our country has a divine master. We're destined to be invincible in the future and unify this world. One of them said coldly, I don't understand either. Can you tell me who the divine master of your country is? A voice sounded. A figure suddenly appeared beside Xine Qingyun, causing the swords and sabers of the three generals of Black Flame to stop in the air. It was as if there was an invisible force blocking them. Moreover, at the same time, the soldiers of Uroa who had been resurrected from the dead were all sent flying and exploded. Who is it? The three generals of Black Flame were shocked. Xine Qingyun was also shocked, but he soon showed an extremely excited expression. Brother-in-law? Chapter 486. Xine Qingyun's face was full of surprise. Just when he was facing the threat of death, Lin Tian appeared. With a raise of his hand, He knocked away all the soldiers of Yuru who had come back from the dead and stopped the 3 masters who were attacking him. Such a reunion really surprised him. Brother-in-law? Is it really you? Am I dreaming? Lin Tian raised his hand and slapped this guy. Does it hurt? Yes. Xi and Qingyun nodded. Then he was even more surprised. It's really you, brother-in-law. You're back from the sect? I just came back. Lin Tian smiled. He was also quite happy to see his good friend after a year. He still wanted to say something to Xi and Qingyun, but he was interrupted by a furious roar. The 3 people from Uro's all wielded swords and sabers, but they were stopped by an invisible force. Even with all their strength, they were unable to slash down their swords or sabers. Staring at this scene, Xi and Qingyun was shocked. He looked at Lin Tiandao and asked, "Brother-in-law, did you do this?" Xi and Qingyun was not stupid. Naturally, he could guess. Lin Tian nodded and stared at the 3 people opposite him. Tell me, who is that god-tier master of Yuru? The 3 of them tried their best to slash out with their swords and sabers. Unfortunately, no matter how hard they tried, they could not slash down. It was as if there was a layer of invisible air in the void that blocked their weapons. This made them gradually feel a sense of fear. However, when the 3 heard Lin Tian mention the god-tier master, their expressions immediately became cold and ferocious. The god-tier master is a god from heaven. He's omnipotent and can control everything in the world. With the god-tier master here, you'll die. All of you will die. The god-tier master will lead Yuru to eternal glory and unify this world. The 3 people sneered with ferocious expressions. Their eyes were bloodthirsty. Lin Tian didn't have any expression on his face. He swept out 3 beams of sword chi. Puff, puff, puff. Blood splattered, and the 3 people were all beheaded. These 3 people had too much evil chi on them. He had no reason to be merciful and killed them all on the spot. Brother-in-law, be careful. A monster is coming, Xi and Qingyun shouted. Xi and Qingyun wasn't surprised that Lin Tian was able to kill the 3 generals from the Black Luo Kingdom. When Lin Tian left the imperial city, his cultivation had already reached the peak of the 9th heavenly layer of the Sea of Consciousness. His combat strength was extremely terrifying. Now that Lin Tian had returned from the sect, he was even stronger. It was naturally easy for him to kill a few cultivators at the 6th heavenly layer of the Divine Vein Realm. There was no need for him to be surprised. Lin Tian tilted his head. Some of the Uro soldiers who had come back from the dead were charging over. Their bodies were covered in blood, and some of them even had their arms and heads chopped off. However, they could still move. They raised their blades and charged in this direction. These things are too horrifying. Xi and Qingyun shrunk his neck. Just now, they had been in a life-and-death battle, so he didn't find it scary. Now that Lin Tian had appeared and stared at these Uro soldiers who had come back from the dead, he suddenly felt a chill down his spine. After all, these people were clearly dead, but they could stand up again. This was too strange and terrifying. Lin Tian swept out a large amount of sword chi, cutting the surrounding Uro soldiers who had come back from the dead into pieces. He left behind a moving corpse and raised his hand to grab it. Brother-in-law, what are you doing? Xi and Qingyun asked. Lin Tian didn't say anything. He lifted the armor of this soldier's corpse and saw blood-colored patterns on its back. Xi and Qingyun was shocked. What is this? Formation patterns. Lin Tiandao, staring at the blood-colored formation patterns on the back of this soldier, a silver light flashed in his eyes. Then, traces of cold light appeared. This blood-colored formation pattern had never appeared in his sea of consciousness before. However, as a level 6 array manipulator, as someone who had mastered the Tianyi Soul technique, the supreme ancient scripture of array Dao, he could clearly sense the effect of this blood-colored formation pattern. When this blood-colored pattern was engraved on a living person's body, it could absorb blood chi and enter the brain of the living person who bore this blood-colored pattern. At the cost of overdrawing one's life, it could strengthen all aspects of the bearer's body and make the bearer bloodthirsty and cruel. Moreover, after the bearer died, his blood chi and soul wouldn't dry up for a short period of time, and his soul wouldn't dissipate for a short period of time. The blood-colored pattern would continue to work and automatically control the flow of blood chi, allowing the dead bearer to stand up and kill the enemy again. This was a very vicious formation pattern. This was because even if the bearer didn't die on the battlefield when the battle ended, his life would be shortened by at least 30 years. It was even possible that he would die after a year and a half. With a poof, he completely shattered the corpse of the soldier with the blood-colored pattern. This soldier was already dead. It was nothing more than the blood-colored pattern controlling the blood chi in his body. He could only be considered a simple puppet. Kill! 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 Some of the soldiers roared loudly and rushed over. The soldiers of the Yuru kingdom all had bloodshot eyes and a vicious aura around them. They were like wild beasts. Lin Tian stood up and didn't kill them. He sent a large number of Rose soldiers flying. Then he raised his hand and grabbed a soldier who was still alive. The same blood-colored pattern appeared on his back. This soldier was imprisoned, but he wasn't afraid at all. He roared crazily. These bastards are really vicious. Xian Qingyun cursed. Lin Tian pressed down on the soldier. Silver light flashed in his right hand. He activated the Tianyi Soul technique and pressed down on the soldier's back. With a soft sound, the blood-colored pattern on the soldier's back was directly destroyed. Instantly, the Rose soldier trembled, and the viciousness in his eyes decreased by more than half. You? The soldier looked a little confused, but he quickly stood up. He looked at Lin Tian and Xian Qingyun with fear and stepped back. Clearly, the blood-colored pattern made him violent and bloodthirsty, but he still remembered what was happening. Xian Qingyun was surprised. When the blood-colored pattern disappeared, the Rose soldier actually knew how to be cautious and fearful. He was actually retreating. Clang! 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 The weapons clashed continuously, spreading in all directions. On the battlefield, soldiers from both countries were charging, and people kept falling. The Rose soldiers weren't afraid of death. They were ferocious, bloodthirsty, and filled with viciousness. In comparison, although the Baiyan soldiers had Ji Yuanshan's drumming to boost their fighting spirit, they were still much weaker than the Rose soldiers. They were still retreating, and soldiers kept falling into pools of blood. They died on the cruel battlefield. Xian Qingyun cursed. Beiyin was his empire. Seeing the Beiyin soldiers fall one by one, he was naturally angry. Lin Tian looked at the battlefield and swept away a few of the Rose soldiers. Then he said to Xian Qingyun, "Ask all the Beiyin soldiers to retreat. Leave this to me." He could already imagine that the Rose soldiers must have been engraved with that vicious blood-colored pattern. The Beiyin soldiers couldn't possibly block it. Leave it to you? Brother-in-law, you must be joking. You want to block the Rose soldiers by yourself? Xian Qingyun's eyes widened. This was a battlefield. There were tens of thousands of Rose charging. How could one person block it? Just leave it to me. Go. Lin Tiandao. Xian Qingyun's eyes widened, but he quickly nodded. Okay. Brother-in-law, be careful. There were tens of thousands of Rose charging. If it were anyone else, Xian Qingyun would definitely call them crazy. But now that Lin Tian had spoken, Xian Qingyun was only slightly shocked. He didn't say anything else. Xian Qingyun had absolute faith in Lin Tian. Or rather, it could be said that he worshipped him blindly. With that, Xian Qingyun left the battlefield. Not long after, a bugle horn sounded. It was extremely loud and clear. It came from the Beiyin camp. Retreat! A Beiyin general shouted on the battlefield. On the border battlefield, it was difficult for one person's voice to travel. Therefore, some simple orders were transmitted through different bugle horns. The bugle horn was the order for the Beiyin soldiers to retreat. After hearing the bugle horn, the Beiyin soldiers quickly retreated and left the battlefield, kicking up a large cloud of dust. Among the dust, only Lin Tian didn't move. He stood quietly on the spot and watched the Rose charging over. In the Beiyin camp, Ji Yuanshan, Ji Yu, Zhu Yi, and the rest all rushed out. All the soldiers saluted. Beside them, Xine Qingyun was naturally beside them. Just now, Xine Qingyun had retreated from the battlefield and told Ji Yuanshan the ins and outs of the matter. He said that Lin Tian wanted all the Beiyan soldiers to retreat. This made Ji Yuanshan and the rest change their expressions. Originally, Ji Yuanshan refused to blow the bugle horn for the Beiyan soldiers to retreat no matter what. But Xine Qingyun looked solemn and serious. In the end, he had no choice but to nod. "Where is Lin Tian?" "Over there, old general." Xine Qingyun pointed to the front. On the battlefield, dust flew. A slender figure faced the Rose army with his back to the crowd. He was calm and collected. This scene was quickly seen by the other generals and soldiers of the Beiyan camp. Their expressions changed drastically. "Who is that? Why is there still someone on the battlefield? Didn't you hear the bugle horn for retreat? Go and pull him down." A general shouted. Someone wanted to rush out, but was stopped by Xine Qingyun. "Don't move. Leave that place to my brother-in-law." Xine Qingyun was the young master of the Xine family. His cultivation was strong, and he was by Ji Yuanshan's side. Naturally, his prestige in the army was not weak. When he spoke, those who wanted to rush out stopped. But soon, many people shook their heads. These people did not care about the word brother-in-law, Xine Qingyun said. Instead, they were thinking about the battlefield ahead. How can he stop tens of thousands of soldiers by himself? That's right. Isn't this nonsense? Quick, pull him back. He's courting death. Many people said. At this time, even Ji Yuanshan nodded. He wanted to call Lin Tian back. Lin Tian was strong, but how could he stop tens of thousands of Uro's imperial army alone? Moreover, those soldiers were very strange. Their battle chi was very fierce. "Grandpa," a voice came from the side. Ji Yu spoke. Although he was worried, he said, "I believe in him." Ji Yuanshan frowned. "Little Yu, old general, believe in him." "I believe in him too," Zhu Yi said solemnly. "I believe in my brother-in-law. He could definitely stop the army." Xine Qingyun also said. Dust filled the sky on the battlefield. Tens of thousands of Uros charged, causing the ground to tremble and hurricanes to sweep across. "Kill! Kill! Kill!" The shouts were deafening and extremely terrifying. Standing in the battlefield, Lin Tian charged at the tens of thousands of Uros soldiers alone. His clothes fluttered in the wind, but he seemed very calm. He circulated the divine one-soul technique to the limit. Bright silver light shone out of his body. His soul power was extremely dense, causing his body to almost turn into a silver light source. Then his hands moved, and the sky above his head suddenly became a little dark. The starry sky appeared, and a bright moon rushed out from it, perfectly merging with the soul power he released. "I'll borrow your bright moon to illuminate the entire battlefield." Chapter 487. The battlefield was too big, and there were too many Uros soldiers. Lin Tian guessed that these people were all engraved with those vicious blood marks. If he had to remove these blood marks one by one, it would be too time-consuming. Therefore, he activated the heavenly one-soul spell to the limit. With the support of the starry sky moon, he turned his soul power into moonlight that intertwined outside the moon. Then it spread out and enveloped all the Uros soldiers on the battlefield. Wong! The silver light intertwined and poured down from the sky like water. In the blink of an eye, it covered the entire battlefield. Facing the moonlight that was mixed with soul power, all the soldiers of Uru Kingdom stopped and trembled. Looking over, there was a faint blood-red light flickering from these soldiers, floating into the sky like mist. Lin Tian's expression was calm. After supporting the starry sky moon, he didn't move a single step. He just looked ahead quietly. Behind him, everyone in the Northern Flame Nation camp was shocked. They were all stunned. The Uros stopped? The starry sky, the moon, the entire battlefield is illuminated. Everyone was shocked. "This is a miracle," someone murmured. The appearance of a starry sky and the appearance of a bright moon in the sky illuminated the entire battlefield and stopped the soldiers of the Northern Flame Nation. This scene seriously impacted the visual nerves of the people of the Northern Flame Nation. In their eyes, this was like the manifestation of a god. Brother-in-law is like a god. Xi and Qingyun stared. Ji Yuanshan and Zhu Yi, the two big shots of Beiyan, were also dumbfounded. At this moment, both of them were stunned. Not only them, but even Ji Yu, who was at the peak of the sea of consciousness, was shocked. He looked at this scene in disbelief. In front of him, on the battlefield, Lin Tian's expression was calm. The Heavenly One's soul spell circulated faster, and the silver light of the moon became stronger. The tens of thousands of soldiers from the Yuru kingdom all trembled. Strands of blood-red light floated up from their bodies before disappearing into the sky. This process lasted for several dozen breaths of time. After several dozen breaths of time, the tens of thousands of people from the Yuru kingdom all trembled. Most of the evil aura on their bodies dissipated, and the battle intent in their eyes weakened greatly. Even so, these people still remembered that this was a battlefield. They remembered that they were fighting against the Northern Flame Country. However, as they stared at Lin Tian and the moon above Lin Tian's head, they were filled with deep fear. A single person stood on the battlefield with the moon above his head, facing tens of thousands of people from Urose alone. He was simply a god. At this moment, none of the tens of thousands of people from Urose dared to charge forward. Lin Tian stared ahead and put away the starry sky moon. He could feel that the blood marks on these people's bodies had all shattered. A long sword appeared in his hand. With a slight shake, an immortal sword aura tore through the air and slashed down on the battlefield. Boom! With a loud bang, a huge ravine appeared on the horizon. All of you return. If you invade Northern Flame's territory again, kill. He said indifferently. These people were just ordinary soldiers of Euroa. They had been planted with blood marks and had come to the battlefield to kill enemies. He naturally wouldn't kill these ordinary people. He just wanted to intimidate them a little. His voice wasn't loud, but it spread far and wide, resounding throughout the battlefield. As soon as he finished speaking, he slashed out a second time, leaving a huge ravine on the battlefield. Who wouldn't be afraid of such a terrifying power? The soldiers of Urose were all trembling in fear. Some of the generals in the lead trembled and ordered them to retreat. In the blink of an eye, tens of thousands of people were running wildly, throwing away their helmets and armors like stray dogs. In just a few dozen breaths, only Lin Tianyi was left on the battlefield. There was also a cloud of dust that had been stirred up by the battle. Behind them, in the Northern Flame camp, everyone's eyes were wide open. After who knew how much time had passed, someone roared out, incredibly excited. They retreated. Urose retreated. That's great. We won a battle? Many Northern Flame generals were excited. A few months ago, when Urose invaded, Northern Flame kept retreating and lost 13 cities in a row. Not long ago, the most prestigious general in the army, Ji Yuanshan, personally went to the battlefield to command the battle, but they still couldn't win a single battle. But now, Northern Flame had won a battle, and the soldiers of Urose fled in panic. Everyone was excited. Everyone stared ahead and looked at Lin Tian on the battlefield. Their eyes were filled with awe and fanaticism. He forced tens of thousands of Urose to retreat alone. He's a god. A miracle. It's a miracle. Everyone muttered to themselves, and many people clenched their fists. Not only these ordinary soldiers, but even Ji Yu, Xi Qian, Zhu Yi, and Ji Yuanshan were all stunned. Ji Yu, Xi and Qingyun, and Zhu Yi. Although the three of them said that they believed in Lin Tian, they were still somewhat worried. But now, Lin Tian had really forced tens of thousands of enemies to retreat alone. This stunned the three of them. Great, great. Ji Yu laughed loudly. On the battlefield, Lin Tian turned around and walked towards the camp step by step. Let's go and welcome our hero, Zhu Yi shouted. Zhu Yi was now the emperor of Northern Flame. He stepped out of the camp and walked at the front. Ji Yuanshan was slightly behind him. Ji Yu, Xi and Qingyun, and Ji Yuanshan walked together. Although Zhu Yi didn't care about the formalities, Ji Yuanshan and the other two knew what to do. especially Ji Yuanshan. He was an old and loyal official. Some rules were very important to him. Soon, some people came out to welcome him. Lin Tian also walked back at this time. Lin Tian, Zhu, he opened his mouth. After calling out these two words, he didn't know what to say. Only his eyes kept flickering. Brother-in-law, you're amazing. You're like a god. Xian Qingyun's face was full of admiration. In Xian Qingyun's eyes, and in the eyes of others, using one's own body to support the moon and the stars was the work of a celestial. That's amazing, Ji said with a smile. A group of generals from the Northern Flame country also rushed out of the camp. There were also some ordinary soldiers from the Northern Flame country. All of them were looking at Lin Tian with reverence and fanaticism. They were practically surrounding Lin Tian. Lin Tian nodded at Zhu Yi and the others. He smiled at Ji Yu and then looked at Ji Yuanshan. Old general. He stepped forward and bowed, slightly in the manner of a junior. Good, good. Ji Yuanshan laughed. Although he was old, his body was still very strong. He was very happy to see Lin Tian. The group walked into the camp and entered a military tent. Brother-in-law, you're so cool, Xian Qingyun exclaimed from time to time. In the military tent, Lin Tian, Zhu Yi, Ji Yuanshan, Ji Yu, and Xian Qingyun were present and chatting. Zhu Yi and Ji Yuanshan were very happy to win the battle. Ji Yuanshan hadn't seen Ji Yu and Lin Tian for more than a year. He chatted a lot with them and asked about their cultivation in the sect. It was not until more than 2 hours later that he brought the topic back to the current battle. It's very troublesome. It's completely different from the battles I've experienced before. Speaking of this battle, even Ji Yuanshan, the ever-victorious general, frowned and shook his head from time to time. Old general, don't worry. Brother-in-law is here. With brother-in-law here, we'll definitely win this battle. Xian Qingyun waved his hand heroically. Ji Yu nodded and said softly, Grandpa, don't worry. Lin Tian can do it. She didn't have any doubts about Xian Qingyun calling Lin Tian brother-in-law. She didn't think much about it because Lin Tian had already told her the reason. Old general, listen to Miss Ji Yu. Don't worry. With Lin Tian here, we'll definitely win this battle. Zhu Yi said. With regards to Lin Tian, the few of them were filled with confidence. Ji Yuanshan smiled bitterly and nodded. Then he looked at Lin Tian and said, My old bones really can't support this battle now. I can only put all my hopes on you. Like them, I also believe in you. I believe that you can do everything well. The future of Beiyin and the future of Baiyin's people are all in your hands. Lin Tian nodded and smiled calmly. Old general, don't worry. This battle is very strange. Urose must have invited a very powerful person to help. He said, Later, I'll personally go to Uro's imperial court and ask the current emperor of Urose to stop this battle. I'll also go and meet the divine master of Urose. When he mentioned the divine master of Urose, 2 rays of silver light flashed across his eyes. The divine master of Urose was definitely not a good person. What? You want to go to Uro's imperial court? Hearing this, Zhu Yi and the others were shocked. Going to an imperial court was too dangerous. Even if Lin Tian was very strong, they were still shocked. Xian Qingyun also widened his eyes. Brother-in-law, are you addicted to going to the imperial court? This is not a joke. Hearing Xian Qingyun's words, Zhu Yi was a bit embarrassed. Lin Tian had gone to the imperial court of Beiyin before. Get lost. Lin Tianxiao scolded and slapped Xian Qingyun. Zhu Yi's expression was solemn. He said, Lin Tian, we have to think about this. Don't be reckless. Back then, when you barged into the Northern Flame Imperial Palace, you were only able to obtain victory because you had the help of the Imperial City's Array Manipulator clan. But now, Zhu Yi felt a little embarrassed when he mentioned the past. After all, back then, the Northern Flame Imperial clan had suppressed Ji Yuanshan and imprisoned Ji Yu. He paused and said, Anyway, don't do anything rash. I don't want my friend to be hurt. Lin Tianyi smiled and shook his head. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Zhu Yi and Ji Yuanshan still wanted to say something, but Lin Tian had already made up his mind. No matter how they tried to persuade him, it was useless. I'll go with you. I know the surrounding kingdoms better than you, Jiyu said. Chapter 488. Lin Tian was a little speechless. What was Xian Chengyun thinking? How was this exciting? Take me there, brother-in-law. I beg you. Xian Chengyun's eyes lit up. Please search product #book.net to see the most complete. A novel. Lin Tian originally wanted to go to Uro's kingdom alone, but he didn't know much about the kingdom. Moreover, with his current strength, it shouldn't be a problem to protect Jiyu and Xian Chengyun in the first heaven. After hesitating for a moment, he agreed to go with them. Are we really going? Zhu Yi was a little stunned. The three of them were going to the royal palace of an empire. This made him, the emperor, a little confused. Don't worry, nothing will happen to us. Lin Tiandao. He could even kill immortal experts. Breaking into the royal palace of an ordinary empire was no different from entering his own backyard. After talking to Ji Yuanshan and Zhu Yi, Lin Tian and the other two set off toward the royal palace of Uro's kingdom at night. The three of them rode Fergana horses out of the Beiyin camp and soon disappeared into the darkness. Breaking into the royal palace, Xian Chengyun chuckled. Lin Tian was a little speechless. This guy was really stupid. If you laugh like a fool again, I'll kick you back, he said. Xian Chengyun immediately looked dejected. Don't do that, brother-in-law. I was wrong. I promise I won't be a fool. Cough. I promise I won't laugh. Jiyu chuckled, thinking that the two of them were quite interesting. The Fergana horse was very strong. After galloping for a while, Lin Tian said, Let's go to the 13 cities that were slaughtered by Uro's kingdom. He had already destroyed the vicious blood marks on all the soldiers of Uro's kingdom at the border. These people's combat strength would be greatly reduced. They would definitely not be a match for the soldiers of Beiyin, led by Ji Yuanshan. Therefore, he was not worried that the soldiers of Uro's kingdom would counterattack after he left. Why are we going to those cities? Xian Chengyun was curious. Just take a look. Lead the way. Lin Tiandao. When he was rushing to the border, he heard from Zhu Yi's generals that at night there would be bloody winds on the battlefield, and he could see the figures of dead people in the bloody winds. This made him feel very strange, and he wanted to go and take a look. Xian Chengyun replied with an "oh" and didn't ask any more questions. He turned around and rode the Fergana horse towards the nearest city. After a few hours, an ancient city appeared in front of them. The ancient city was very majestic. It was one of the 13 cities that had fallen. As far as the eye could see, there were some trench fires lit on the city walls. However, the light was somewhat terrifying and swaying. Brother-in-law, there are people from the Uros guarding the city wall. Should we charge in? Brother-in-law, you should be able to. Xian Chengyun said. No need, I'll just take a look here. Lin Tiandao. At this moment, the three of them were still some distance away from the city wall in front of them. They were hiding under a thick old tree. As far as the eye could see, there were more than 10 burly Uros standing on the city wall. They were either holding dark sabers or long halberds in their hands. All of them had shocking blood chi. Some of them were walking back and forth on the city wall. It was obvious that they were patrolling at night. Suddenly, gusts of cold wind blew from within the city. It's so cold today. I don't know what's going on recently. There's this kind of wind every night, and it smells of blood. There's a ghost shadow. Someone exclaimed. Damn it, what are you doing? There's no ghost. The leading general stared. It's true. I saw it just now. It seems to be someone who died in this city. Her face is covered in blood. The person who spoke was trembling. Then, on the city wall, some of the ordinary generals also trembled slightly. Someone opened his mouth and said, Actually, I also saw some figures before. It seems to be people who were killed in this city. Me too. I saw them too. Me too. After the first person spoke, many others soon spoke. Many of them had seen figures in the wind. Could it be that the dead people have turned into ghosts? Someone said with a trembling voice. Nonsense. If they're dead, they're dead. What nonsense are ghosts? On the city wall, The leading general shouted sternly. Besides, so what if those dead people have turned into ghosts? With the divine masters around, they won't be able to cause any trouble. Hearing the leading general mention the divine masters, the other ordinary generals were relieved, and their expressions became better. That's right, that's right. With the divine masters around, everything will be fine. Yes, I almost forgot. The divine masters have come to our Uros. In the future, this world will definitely belong to our Uros. On the city wall, everyone was excited. Outside the ancient city, under the old tree, brother-in-law, did you see anything just now? Exai Chingyun said, with a trembling voice. There was a figure in the wind. Jiyu frowned. Lin Tian nodded and said, yes. He stared at the ancient city, and the silver light in his eyes intertwined. He was still staring in the direction of the ancient city. Others would only occasionally see a figure, but after he used the heavenly one-soul technique, he saw many figures. These figures were all covered in blood, and their faces were ferocious. They were very resentful, like vengeful spirits that had walked out of hell. Because of the resentment of these figures, there was a strong smell of blood in the wind, which made Lin Tian frown. The fluctuation of soul power. Blood souls? He cultivated the heavenly one-soul technique and was a sixth-order array manipulator, so he was very sensitive to the fluctuation of soul power. These figures were condensed from the soul power of the dead people. Now, they were forcefully pulled out of the ancient city by an invisible force and floated toward the southeast of the ancient city, quickly disappearing into the night. Where is the southeast of here? He asked Jiyu. Southeast. Jiyu was slightly stunned. That's the direction of the Uros imperial city. Lin Tian's eyes flashed as he looked toward the southeast. Let's go to the Uros imperial city, he said, on the way to the border. When he heard from the generals beside Zhu that the Uros had slaughtered all the people in 13 cities, he felt that something was wrong with this war. At this moment, when he saw the blood souls in the wind, he felt that there was a big problem with this war. It was very likely that this was a huge conspiracy. He glanced at the city in front of him one last time, then quietly left with Jiyu and Exan Xingyan on the horse. Uros was adjacent to Beiyin, so the distance between the two was not too far. In addition, the three of them were at the border, so they quickly arrived outside the Uros imperial city in about 2 days. Looking around, the Uros imperial city and Beiyin imperial city were very similar. They were both very large, and there were many people in the city, including many young experts. I heard that His Majesty is already preparing to attack Muyun. Attack Muyun? Aren't they fighting with Beiyin? Beiyin will be destroyed soon. They have already lost 13 cities, so they can't stop our soldiers. After this, not only the Northern Flame country and the Muyun country, but also the other neighboring countries will also be targeted. It's all thanks to the God Master. That's right. Ever since the God Master came, our combat power has soared. In the past, when we fought with Beiyin, we basically couldn't win with Ji Yuanshan around. But now, I heard that even Ji Yuanshan can't win. In the Uros imperial city, many people were whispering. Lin Tian and the other two walked in the Uros imperial city. Hearing these voices, Exan Qingyun was very unhappy. God Master, where did this son of AB Taj come from? It seems that this son of AB Taj started this war. Many people died. Exan Qingyun was very unhappy, but he kept his voice low. After all, this was the Uros imperial city. We'll find out soon. Lin Tiandao. He looked very calm as he walked in a specific direction with Jiyu and Exan Qingyun. Soon, the three of them arrived in front of a towering city wall. It was the main gate of the Uros imperial city. How dare you? Who are you? A Uros soldier who was guarding the gate of the imperial city scolded them. Lin Tian didn't say anything. He swept out a gust of wind with his sword and sent the soldiers in front of the imperial city flying. He didn't take their lives. He came to the Uros imperial city to stop the war and meet the so-called God Master. Naturally, he wouldn't kill ordinary people. Let's go, he said to Jiyu and enchantment. He broke the main gate of the imperial city and walked into the imperial city. Jiyu followed behind him quietly. Enchantment kept rubbing his hands. His eyes were full of excitement. Soon, the three of them walked into the imperial city. It was currently noon. There were quite a few figures on the streets in front of the royal palace. All of them widened their eyes when they saw this scene. They stared at Lin Tian's group as if they had seen ghosts. There were actually people who dared to barge into the royal palace of the empire in broad daylight. Did they eat a bear's heart or a leopard's gall? They must have a death wish. They're crazy. Some people were stunned. The structure of the Euro Royal Palace was similar to that of the Bayan Royal Palace. The interior was also filled with pavilions, and the ground was paved with white jade. There were wide avenues all around, and right in front of them was a magnificent hall. Soon, a large number of soldiers rushed out of the imperial city and went straight for Lin Tian. "How dare you break into the imperial city? You must have a death wish," the leading general shouted angrily. As soon as he finished speaking, all the soldiers around him moved. They all waved their swords and sabers at Lin Tian, Jiyu, and enchantment. These people's cultivation wasn't too strong, but they all had a murderous aura. Almost all of them were soldiers who had retired from the battlefield. They were all brave and skilled in battle and were much stronger than cultivators of the same level. Lin Tian was expressionless. He looked at the soldiers who were charging at him, and a cold aura suddenly spread out. All of a sudden, the soldiers who had rushed forward were shaken. Suddenly, all of them began to tremble. Many of them couldn't even hold their swords firmly. Some of them even sat on the ground while trembling. In an instant, they revealed a terrified expression. Moreover, it wasn't just these people. Even the powerful general who shouted at him at the beginning was shocked. Cold sweat dripped down his face. The general trembled, and his eyes were filled with fear. He stuttered for a long time, but couldn't say a word. The strongest of these people was only at the 9th level of the Divine Pulse realm. How could they withstand the cold aura of Lin Tian, who was at the 4th level of the Zephyr realm? A long sword appeared in Lin Tian's hand. The light of fire flickered as he slashed it forward. With a clang, a huge sword of flames tore through the air and landed on the main hall at the center of the royal palace in the blink of an eye. It obliterated the symbolic roof of the royal palace, causing strands of flames to burn in the surroundings. "Uro's Emperor, come out and meet me." Chapter 489. With a single strike, the roof of the symbolic imperial palace of the Uru kingdom had been flipped over. All the soldiers and generals in the surroundings were so shocked that they trembled and revealed shocked expressions. How could a casual strike of his sword have such terrifying, destructive power? Was he still human? Not only these people, but even Jiyu, who was at the peak of the 9th heaven, was shocked. He looked at Lin Tian in disbelief. "Brother-in-law, you are so domineering." Enchantment's eyes widened. Lin Tian's expression was calm. He looked ahead quietly. Then, he tilted his head and looked into the depths of the Wulu Royal Palace. After entering the Wulu Royal Palace, he felt an extremely bloody aura and dense soul power fluctuations. "Who is it?" An angry voice sounded. In the main hall of the Wulu Royal Palace, a middle-aged man in a dragon robe walked out. He was followed by 2 other middle-aged men. One of them was in a black robe, and the other was in a green robe. "Your Majesty! Your Majesty! Your Majesty!" Immediately, everyone in the palace bowed deeply. Jiyu said to Lin Tiandao, "The middle-aged man in the dragon robe is the current king of the Wulua kingdom. The 2 on his left and right are very strong." Staring at the 2 middle-aged men on the left and right of the king, Jiyu couldn't help but frown. With her cultivation at the peak of the spiritual sea, there were few people who could match her outside the sect. However, at this moment, she felt a strong pressure from these 2 people. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes. He naturally noticed that the 2 middle-aged men were not ordinary. However, he didn't care much. "We're here on behalf of the Bayan kingdom. You know that, right?" He stared at the king of the Wulua kingdom. The king of the Wulua kingdom froze for a moment, and his face darkened. The people of the Bayan kingdom dared to attack his palace. He looked at the two middle-aged men and said, "God's messengers, please capture these three traitors." As soon as the king of the Wulua kingdom finished speaking, the black-robed man on the left immediately walked out. His expression was very indifferent, as if he was not here. This person took a step forward, and an afterimage appeared. Then more and more afterimages appeared. He was like a dark soul shadow, and in the blink of an eye, he was about 10 feet away from Lin Tian and the other two. It's one of the two messengers of the priest. It's just a few people, yet the divine emissary has to take action. With the divine emissary's strength, he should be able to suppress them in an instant. Of course, the two god-tier masters are hundreds or thousands of times more powerful than the ancestors of our Uros. One of the soldiers spoke. His fearful expression immediately disappeared, and he stared at Lin Tian, Jiyu, and the others with a mocking expression. Staring ahead, Jiyu's expression suddenly changed. Lin Tian, this person is in the Zephyr realm. I know. Lin Tian nodded. As he spoke, he calmly raised his hand and pulled it forward. It was also at this time that the black-robed man stepped forward. Pa! A loud and clear slap was heard. The black-robed middle-aged man was sent flying like a scarecrow and fell into the distance. The oracle was actually, how is this possible? Everyone's expression changed. The powerful oracle was sent flying with a single slap. This made many people in the Euro royal palace feel like they were in a dream. Jiyu was shocked. Lin Tianyu? She could clearly feel that the black-robed man who rushed forward was very powerful. He was not inferior to her master, the Lord of the Valley of the Harp, or even stronger. However, Lin Tian was able to send him flying with a single slap. In front of the Euro royal palace, the Euro king's expression changed. The green-robed man on the right had a sharp look in his eyes as he stared at Lin Tian. Boom! A violent aura swept out. The black-robed man who was sent flying by Lin Tian rushed to the void 10 feet above the ground. Staring at Lin Tian again, the black-robed man's face darkened, and a bone-chilling murderous intent appeared in his eyes. Sister, brother-in-law, can fly? He's above the Zephyr realm. Xian Qingyan stuttered. Clang! The ear-piercing sound of a weapon rang out. In the void, a sharp sword suddenly appeared in the black-robed man's hand, and immortal might intertwined. A pseudo-immortal weapon. As soon as this pseudo-immortal weapon appeared, everyone in the palace trembled and felt a chill run down their spines. Lin Tian's expression darkened slightly. He looked at the Euro king and said, "It seems that you don't want to talk properly? After you are suppressed, I will talk to you properly," the Euro king said. Almost at the same time, in the void, the black-robed man's face turned completely cold. He said coldly, "Young man, you are too arrogant." He stood in the sky and took out his pseudo-immortal weapon. He wanted to kill Lin Tian with one strike because Lin Tian had slapped him. However, after he took out his pseudo-immortal weapon, Lin Tian did not even look at him. Clang! Another sound of a weapon rang out. The middle-aged man held the pseudo-immortal sword and moved even faster. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Lin Tian. Die! Slap! Lin Tian slapped the black-robed man and sent him flying again. Such a scene almost made everyone's jaws drop. Everyone here was stupefied, staring at Lin Tian as if they had seen a ghost. The black-robed man flew back more than 5 meters. There were 5 clear lines on his face. He glared at Lin Tian and said, he wanted to say something, but he instantly met Lin Tian's indifferent eyes. He trembled violently as if his throat was choked by a pair of invisible hands. Even breathing became difficult and cold sweat appeared on his forehead. Lin Tian's expression became a little cold. You are only at 7th tier of the Imperial Sky Realm. Who do you think you are? How dare you wave your sword at me? Hearing this, many people were shocked. 7th tier of the Imperial Sky Realm? Brother-in-law, the 7th tier of the Imperial Sky Realm is already very powerful. No, very powerful. You can look down on any Imperial family. Xian Qingyan could not help but swallow his saliva and correct Lin Tian. In the distance, the black-robed man's heart tightened. He only felt that Lin Tian's gaze was too terrifying, and it made him unable to breathe. "Green one?" the black-robed man said in a deep voice. Beside the Black King, the green-robed man's expression darkened. He immediately moved. He stepped into the void and emitted a quasi-immortal sword that was not weaker than the black-robed man. At the same time, a quasi-immortal sword appeared in the green-robed man's hand. The black-robed man stood up and activated his powerful quasi-immortal sword again. At this time, the two middle-aged men's expressions became extremely serious. They activated their quasi-immortal weapons at the same time and swept out a vast sea of swords. This was not an ordinary sword chi, nor was it a simple martial technique. It was a kind of divine ability. In an instant, sword chi filled the sky, almost turning the palace into a sea of swords. Dense, large swords fell from the sky. It was terrifying. This is swords, so many swords. So scary. Everyone was shocked. Staring at this scene, everyone was shocked. Such a grand scene could destroy everything. Brother-in-law, can this be blocked? Xian Qingyun's face turned pale. Why don't you guess? Lin Tianyi smiled. With a buzzing sound, light flickered outside his body. A light screen rushed up and turned into light swords. It was activated with the divine technique, the Li family's God Spirit 10,000 killing sword. Suddenly, the crowd's expression changed again. Many people were almost scared silly. The black-robed man and the green-robed man slashed out dense sword chi. However, in the blink of an eye, Lin Tian summoned even more large swords. Moreover, they looked far more terrifying than the swords summoned by the black-robed man and the green-robed man. How could these people not be shocked? They were all stunned. The black-robed man and the green-robed man's expressions changed. They could clearly feel how terrifying the swords summoned by Lin Tian were. The two of them opened their mouths. However, they did not have the chance to finish their words. The dense light swords had already pressed down. Clang! 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 Thousands of large swords clanged and instantly shattered all the sword chi slashed out by the black-robed man and the green-robed man. Each of them was nailed to the ground by a light sword. For a moment, blood flowed continuously, dyeing a large area of the ground red. Divine messengers. King Euro's expression changed. Lord Divine Messengers. In the Euro Palace, all the soldiers' expressions changed. Xian Qingyun and Ji Yu were also shocked. They were all stunned. They suddenly felt that Lin Tian was simply a person from another world. Lin Tian waved his hand, and two weapons rang out. He grabbed the quasi-immortal swords of the black-robed man and the green-robed man and put them away. The quasi-immortal swords were not ordinary. "Tell me, who is your divine master, and who are you peoples?" He looked at the two of them. It was very easy for him to kill these two people. He could kill them with a raise of his hand. Just now, he was just being merciful. He wanted to get some information from them. The black-robed man and the green-robed man were nailed to the ground. Blood was gushing out of their mouths. Their faces were filled with fear, but at the same time, they were distressed and angry. Their quasi-immortal weapons had been snatched away by Lin Tian. They stared at Lin Tian. In the next moment, the fear and anger on their faces disappeared. Soon, they turned ferocious and stared at Lin Tian like ghosts. "You will die here," the green-robed man said. As he said that, the green-robed man trembled. He pinched a bronze ring on his left middle finger and twisted it fiercely. Immediately, strange inscriptions appeared on the ground and in the air. In the blink of an eye, they covered a radius of over 30 meters, trapping Lin Tian's group and the other soldiers within. Then, in the next moment, with a boom, a terrifying killing intent surged out. Streaks of eerie black light floated out, as if they could destroy everything. Lin Tian's eyes narrowed. This was a complete killing formation, and it was very powerful. A 6-tier array manipulator can't carve such a powerful killing formation. He muttered to himself. He did not look at the black-robed man and the green-robed man. Instead, he raised his head and looked into the depths of the palace. A cold light flashed in his eyes. The black-robed man and the green-robed man were not array manipulators. Then, one could imagine that this complete killing formation was carved by the so-called God-tier master. In that case, this God-tier master was not ordinary. Puff, puff, puff. Streaks of bloody light exploded. Within the killing formation, some of the soldiers of the Euro Palace were hit by the black light and were instantly shattered. Divine Messenger, save us. Sir Divine Messenger, let us out. Ah! Screams sounded one after another. Within this range, ordinary soldiers were constantly being killed. Everyone was terrified. Outside the killing formation, some of the other soldiers were also terrified. They all staggered back, afraid that they would be hit by the black light. You will be cut into a bloody mist. Not even your ashes will be left. Chapter 490. Streaks of black light shot out one after another, completely covering the space within 100 feet. Lin Tian and the other two were enveloped within. Those streaks of black light were like swords that came from the underworld, terrifying to the extreme. Within this killing formation, some of the soldiers of the Euro Imperial Palace suffered a great calamity. One after another, they exploded, dying extremely gruesome deaths. Ah! The screams made one's scalp tingle. The black-robed man and the green-robed man stared at Lin Tian coldly, as if they were looking at a corpse. Brother-in-law, what should we do? Enchantment swallowed his saliva. It's fine. Lin Tiandao didn't move. He just activated the divine One Soul incantation. Streaks of silver light intertwined around him. Streaks of killing light slashed at him from all directions, but they couldn't get close to him at all. What's going on? The black-robed man and the green-robed man were shocked. The light of the killing array was terrifying, but it couldn't hit Lin Tian. In the killing array, Lin Tian's eyes flashed with silver light. He activated the divine One Soul incantation again and again. Finally, a soul sword condensed in his hand. He raised his hand and slashed forward. Chi! With a crisp sound, the runes in the void suddenly shattered, causing a large gap to appear in the killing array. Lin Tian pulled Jiyu and Xine Chingyun, one on the left and one on the right. The yin-yang puppet flashed and directly stepped out of the killing formation. In an instant, the air stabilized and became fresh. We were out? Xine Chingyun heaved a sigh of relief and patted his chest. In front of him, the black-robed man and the green-robed man didn't look too good. They staggered backward. How could you? The two of them were terrified that someone could easily step out of the killing array. Lin Tian stepped forward and appeared in front of the two of them in an instant. Bang! Bang! With two crisp sounds, the two of them were slammed to the ground at the same time. Tell me, who are you and who is that so-called divine master? He looked down at the two of them. Moreover, a long sword appeared in his hand. The sword was extremely sharp. The black-robed man and the green-robed man both trembled as they stared at the long sword in Lin Tian's hand. Both of them became terrified. At this moment, the tip of the sword was too close to them. It could take their lives at any time. 3 breaths. If you don't speak after 3 breaths, you'll die. Lin Tiandao. As soon as these words were spoken, the black-robed man and the green-robed man trembled again. Their expressions became even more fearful. Staring at Lin Tian's indifferent eyes, the two did not doubt that Lin Tian would really kill them without mercy. We will talk. The two of them were scared. The black-robed man said, We are. At this moment, Lin Tian's expression changed, and he quickly retreated. Almost at the same time, dozens of murderous lights descended from the heavens, bringing with them an eerie cold air that made many people's hearts palpitate. The ground was hacked to pieces. At the same time, the black-robed male and green-robed male died miserably, their bodies pierced through like sieves. Not bad. A cold voice sounded. Lin Tian's eyes were indifferent as he looked up at the sky. In the distance, above the Euro Palace, a middle-aged man in a gray robe was standing there. His eyes were as cold as ice. Divine Master, It's the Divine Master. The Divine Master has come out. Greetings, Divine Master. In the Euro Palace, a group of people knelt down and bowed. They were all very sincere, 100 times more respectful than the king of Euro country. Divine Master, this is the thief. He's not ordinary. He was sent by Bayin country. Divine Master, please suppress him. The king of Euro country also bowed. Just now, after Lin Tian injured the black-robed man and the green-robed man with the God Spirit 10,000 kill sword, the king of Euro country secretly made a gesture and ordered people to go to the depths of the palace to invite the Divine Master who had descended to Euro country. Now that the Divine Master had appeared, the king of Euro country immediately relaxed. This was because the Divine Master was many times more powerful than the black-robed and green-robed men. He was almost like a god. Lin Tian looked up at the middle-aged man in a gray robe and said indifferently, "You even killed your own people. How cruel. Not bad." His words were indifferent and had a hint of mockery. The middle-aged man in a gray robe's eyes were cold. "You're so young, but you have a sharp tongue. Take advantage of your seniority. Get down here." Lin Tian was not polite at all. With a clang, his right hand shook, and he casually slashed out the 10th sword move of the Yang incinerating sword, creating a vast sea of fire. Every wisp of flame in this sea of fire was sword chi. He created a sea of fire. Many people were shocked. In the sky, the middle-aged man in a gray robe had a cold expression. A light shield condensed in front of his chest, blocking all the flames. In the blink of an eye, the flames in the sky dissipated. Lin Tian's eyes narrowed as he stared at the middle-aged man in a gray robe. His face darkened. Divine power? The immortal realm. The old man in a gray robe created a light shield and manifested his power. He could clearly feel a tyrannical power that was different from true essence. The other party was actually at the immortal realm and was far more powerful than the Grand Elder of the 100 Refinements Workshop. He was at the second stage of the immortal realm. The immortal realm? Jiyu's expression changed. The immortal realm. That was a legendary existence. In the sky, the middle-aged man in a gray robe stared at Lin Tian like a god looking down at an ant. "Not bad. You have good eyesight. But it's a pity that you forced my 2 servants to die. You can't avoid death." As soon as he finished speaking, the middle-aged man in a gray robe moved. He directly swept out a black divine wheel. As soon as the divine wheel appeared, it locked down the surroundings and pressed down on Lin Tian. As the divine wheel floated past, the void shattered inch by inch and ceased to exist. Such a terrifying might caused everyone's hearts to tremble, and all of them trembled. Lin Tian snorted. He raised his right hand slightly, and the silver Taoist diagram of the 4 divisions appeared in front of him. "Your 2 servants clearly died under your own dog teeth. What does it have to do with me?" The Taoist diagram of the 4 divisions appeared and buzzed. It collided with the middle-aged man's divine wheel. With a swoosh, it was instantly annihilated, causing it to disappear without a trace. He blocked the attack of the Divine Master? How is that possible? It shouldn't be. The Divine Master should be invincible. How could he block the attack of the Divine Master? In the Euro Palace, all the soldiers were shocked. King Euro was also shocked. He stared at Lin Tian and trembled. In this place, he knew how terrifying the middle-aged man in a gray robe was. He had the power to destroy everything. But now his powerful attack was blocked by someone. Ever since he met the middle-aged man in a gray robe, he had never seen such a thing. In the sky, the middle-aged man in a gray robe was slightly surprised. "You're only at the 4th heaven of the Zephyr realm. How could you block the wheel of earthly annihilation?" The wheel of earthly annihilation was an extraordinary divine skill. Now that it was blocked by a 4th heaven of the Zephyr realm, the middle-aged man was slightly surprised. Hearing this, Jiyu and Xine Qingyun were both shocked. "Brother-in-law, you have reached the 4th heaven of the Zephyr realm?" Xine Qingyun was shocked. To the empires, the fourth heaven of the Zephyr realm, was a godlike existence. Ji was also shocked. Lin Tianyu. When Lin Tian easily defeated the black-robed man and the green-robed man, she had vaguely guessed that Lin Tian might have reached the Zephyr realm. But now, hearing this from the middle-aged man in a gray robe who had reached the immortal realm, she was still shocked. After not seeing him for half a year, Lin Tian had reached the level of the sect masters of the four major factions. Don't be surprised. Didn't you mention that the 100 Refinement Square was destroyed? Lin Tian turned his head and grinned at Jiyu. I destroyed it. What? Jiyu turned pale again. Lin Tian was the one who destroyed the 100 Refinement Square. Lin Tian nodded. At that time, I had just returned from cultivation. The Grand Elder of the 100 Refinement Square had reached the immortal realm and led a group of people to the Burning Sun sect. They destroyed the Burning Sun sect and killed many of our fellow disciples. A few of the elders, the sect master, and the Grand Elder were also seriously injured. The Grand Elder was even on the verge of death. So, I destroyed the 100 Refinement Square. I know that the Grand Elder of the 100 Refinement Square had reached the immortal realm, but they actually went to the Burning Sun sect. Jiyu frowned. According to Lin Tian, the 100 Refinement Square was even worse than before. She paused and was suddenly shocked again as she thought of something. You killed the Grand Elder of the 100 Refinement Square who had reached the immortal realm? The immortal realm. Lin Tiansha had an immortal realm existence? I've killed many people who were stronger than him. Lin Tiandao. He spoke very calmly. In the second heaven, there were at least a dozen immortal realm experts who had died at his hands. Jiyu's eyes widened, and she was stunned. Lin Tian killed many immortal realm existences? You, staring at Lin Tian, Jiyu didn't know what to say. She was completely shocked. After half a year, Lin Tian had become so strong. At the side, Xi and Xingyun was already completely dumbfounded. Listening to the conversation between the two, Xi and Xingyun could faintly guess what 100 Refinement Square was. It was a sect, and Lin Tian had actually single-handedly annihilated an entire sect. A sect was one of the most powerful forces in this world. An empire was even weaker than an ant in the eyes of a sect. But now, one of these lofty forces had actually been annihilated by Lin Tian. This was simply too crazy. Humph! A cold voice sounded with disdain. In the sky, the gray-robed, middle-aged man looked down at Lin Tian. He was still indifferent like a god. You, a mere fourth sky of the Imperial Realm, dare to say that you've killed many immortal realm existences? Aren't you afraid that you'll end up in trouble if you boast too much? Lin Tian raised his hand, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. He asked Jiyu and Xi and Xingyun to stay where they were. His slender body slowly rose into the air and came to the same height as the gray-robed middle-aged man. His eyes were indifferent. When you're about to be killed by me, you won't think so. He stared at the gray-robed middle-aged man with a calm expression. But before that, I want to know what you're planning. The gray-robed middle-aged man narrowed his eyes slightly. I don't know what you're talking about. You don't know? Lin Tian smiled. An unprecedentedly terrifying aura burst out of his body, turning into a shocking hurricane that swept out. With a crack, the void in front of him was shattered. Such a terrifying aura shocked everyone in the palace. They couldn't help but tremble. You'll know soon. Chapter 491. A terrifying aura swept out, and a hurricane spread out. Everyone was shocked. Full text to read. As far as the eye could see, even the void above the firmament was distorted and shattered inch by inch. Sister, brother-in-law, this, Xingyun stuttered again. He saw Lin Tian slowly rise into the sky and stand in the void like a god. Then, he emitted an unprecedentedly terrifying aura. The aura seemed to overturn the firmament, like a volcano that was about to erupt. At this moment, Ji was also stunned. This aura was too terrifying. It was even stronger than the Supreme Elder of the Valley of the Harp. She moved her lips but could not say a word. They had only been apart for half a year, and Lin Tian had become too strong. Boom! In the sky, vital essence rippled out like a vast ocean. Waves of aura appeared and spread out. Lin Tian's clothes fluttered in the wind. His eyes were indifferent as he looked coldly at the middle-aged man in the gray robe. He had a strong intuition that the destruction of 13 cities in northern Flame Country must be instigated by this person. He could feel an incomparably thick, bloodthirsty aura from this person, and there were also waves of soul fluctuations. These fluctuations did not belong to this person. The middle-aged man in the gray robe looked serious. You are only at the 4th plane of the Zephyr realm. How can you emit such a powerful aura? The middle-aged man in the gray robe was really surprised. It was the first time he saw a cultivator at the 4th plane of the Zephyr realm with such an aura. Lin Tian's face was cold. The next moment, he disappeared and appeared in front of the middle-aged man in the gray robe. Without any superfluous words, he swung his iron fist and smashed it at the middle-aged man. He hated the bloody aura on the middle-aged man. Boom! The tyrannical punch was like the sound of a sacred drum being beaten. The momentum was very frightening. The middle-aged man in the gray robe was shocked. Such a powerful physique obviously shocked him. He did not take it head-on. Instead, he condensed a divine shield in front of his chest with his divine power and blocked Lin Tian's iron fist. Then, he coldly snorted. With a wave of his right hand, another pitch-black divine wheel appeared. After spinning once, it directly crushed towards Lin Tian. Shatter for me? Lin Tian was expressionless. He didn't make any unnecessary movements. He continued to press down with his fist, causing the heavens to shake. With a rumbling sound, the gloomy divine will summoned by the middle-aged man was directly smashed into pieces. The gray-robed middle-aged man coldly snorted and took a step forward. A divine pagoda appeared, shaking the void until it rumbled and light filled the sky. His physique is strong, and his aura is not weak. However, he is only at the 4th layer of the Zephyr realm after all. With a cold snort, the gray-robed middle-aged man pushed the divine tower towards Lin Tian. You're only at the 2nd level of the connecting immortal realm. Don't think too highly of yourself. I've even killed people at the 3rd level of the connecting immortal realm. Lin Tianling coldly replied. With a flash of light, a figure appeared behind him with 1,000 hands on its back. It was the Bai clan's 1,000 illusory divine hands. Now, he was no longer using the divination divine technique to activate this technique. Instead, he was using the real 1,000 illusory divine hands secret technique of the Bai clan, which he had learned in the godless realm of the Bai clan. Instantly, the 1,000 hands moved together and instantly shattered the divine tower. Moreover, the 1,000 illusory divine hands didn't disperse. The 1,000 hands faced the sky and pressed forward with the momentum of the 1,000 hands attacking the gods. This was a kind of offensive momentum. However, the gray-robed middle-aged man wasn't weak. With a cold snort, he once again took out a divine shield. The divine shield was formed by divine power. When the two collided, a series of loud sounds were heard. Slash! The gray-robed middle-aged man said coldly. Suddenly, a huge divine sword condensed in the sky. Strange patterns were intertwined on the divine sword, similar to array patterns. It caused a huge crack to appear in the void and crazily tried to devour Lin Tian. Then, the divine sword fell from the sky, surrounded by mysterious patterns. It was actually spreading, turning into a giant net that reached the sky. Lin Tian frowned. This attack was very powerful. However, he wasn't afraid. A primordial mountain appeared behind him, and there were demonic beasts roaring, shaking the sky. Barren Heaven Realm. He propped up the Barren Heaven Realm with the divining divine technique and pressed forward with the king's territory. The king's territory with the king's body was naturally very terrifying. Although he had only used the divining divine technique to activate a trace of his divine form, the power it possessed was still terrifying. It was as if he had opened up a small, barren, ancient demon world in the sky. Boom! The two collided, stirring up strong winds that filled the sky. In the palace, everyone was moved as they stared at the battle in the sky. This battle was too dazzling. Is this considered a martial arts technique? Xin Qingyun widened his eyes. It was the first time he had seen such a battle. He wasn't the only one. Even Ji Yu was shocked. Her beautiful eyes widened as she was deeply shocked by the battle in front of her. There was a loud bang. In the sky, Lin Tian and the gray-robed, middle-aged man exchanged blows. Their divine powers collided violently, shaking the sky. Crack! 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 The void cracked inch by inch. The strong winds swept across, and the two flew backward. The gray-robed, middle-aged man stared at Lin Tian and frowned. That was the Barren Heaven Realm? It seems to be the king's territory of the demon clan with the barren demon body. As a human, you can't have the barren demon body. How can you perform such a technique? You know quite a lot. Lin Tian's eyes narrowed. Suddenly, he changed the topic and said coldly, "You belong to the sky region?" A strange light flashed in the gray-robed, middle-aged man's eyes. Soon, he narrowed his eyes. "You know quite a lot, too. However, I don't understand what you mean." "It's okay. I'll beat you until you understand," Lin Tianling said. With a boom, he propped up the Divine Cry Palace, followed by the Sun Ocean. Finally, a dark starry sky appeared, and a bright moon appeared from within. The silver moonlight illuminated the entire sky, and a divine and holy aura filled the air. The gray-robed, middle-aged man's face suddenly changed, revealing a look of disbelief. Divine Cry Palace, Sun Ocean, starry sky, bright moon? Who exactly are you? The gray-robed, middle-aged man seemed to know a lot. At this moment, he was truly shocked to see Lin Tian propping up 4 different king's territories in a row. The king's territory was a bloodline abijna unique to the king's body. It was impossible for others to learn it. Lin Tianling humphed and took a step forward. Behind him, the 3 kings' territories moved together. Boom! The 3 kings' territories intertwined and moved forward in a triangular formation, blocking all of the gray-robed, middle-aged man's escape routes. The gray-robed, middle-aged man roared and raised his hands high, summoning a huge temple that propped up the 3 kings' territories. "It's futile. You don't have the king's body. These kings' territories are just illusions. They're not enough," the gray-robed, middle-aged man yelled. However, before he could finish, his expression changed because Lin Tian's main body was right in front of him. "You bang!" Lin Tian waved his fist and punched the gray-robed, middle-aged man's face. A stream of blood from his nose landed in the void, and the gray-robed, middle-aged man was sent flying, crashing into a hall far away from the Euro Palace. Divine Master! This Divine Master was actually defeated. How is that possible? The expressions of the soldiers changed. In the distance, the king of Euro Nation was even more shocked. The omnipotent Divine Master was actually sent flying with a single punch. Further away, Xin Qingyun and Ji Yu were also shocked. He sent an immortal realm existence flying. Ji Yu was dumbfounded. Just now, when Lin Tian said that he had killed many immortal realm powerhouses, she was very surprised. However, at this moment, she actually saw Lin Tianyi send an immortal realm existence flying with her own eyes, causing him to spit out blood. She felt as if she had witnessed an ant trampling an elephant to death. It was a contradictory shock. Logically speaking, it was clearly impossible, but now, such an impossible thing had happened. Boom! A terrifying wave surged. In the distance, the gray-robed, middle-aged man rushed into the sky, and the aura around his body became even more terrifying. Lin Tian looked at him coldly. "How is it? Do you understand now?" The gray-robed elder was stunned. Then he remembered Lin Tian's words, "I will beat you until you understand." Instantly, his face darkened, and his eyes became very sinister. "Junior!" With a buzz, he waved his hands, and instantly, the sky was filled with light. Divine towers, divine palaces, divine wheels, and secret techniques were all activated by him. Boom! Divine power surged and approached from all directions, trying to suppress everything. Lin Tian's eyes narrowed slightly. He had to admit that this gray-robed, middle-aged man was very powerful. The Supreme Elder of the 100 Refinements Workshop couldn't compare to him at all. Bai Hongye of the Bai family was also too weak. Although there was only a small gap between them, this gray-robed, middle-aged man was undoubtedly more than 10 times more terrifying than the other two. He made Lin Tian feel pressured. Of course, it was only a little. He shook his body, and a divine shadow appeared behind him again. It was one of the core secret techniques of the Bai family, the Great Celestial King Arcane Technique. As soon as the Great Celestial King Arcane Technique was used, the divine shadow behind him was dozens of feet tall. Its left hand was vertical, and its right hand was flat as it pressed forward. With a loud bang, the void was directly broken open, and light shot into the sky. At this moment, the sound of the air being torn apart rang out. The gray-robed elder turned into a ray of dim light and rushed towards Ji. Lin Tian tilted his head, and his face instantly turned cold. You are courting death. The yin and yang hua was used to the limit, and there wasn't even an afterimage where he stood. In the next moment, he appeared in front of Ji. It was also at this moment that the gray-robed, middle-aged man let out a sinister laugh. Buzz! In the sky where Lin Tian was standing, lines of formation suddenly flashed and quickly condensed on a point. With a rumble, bolts of lightning appeared, and the sky almost turned into a sea of lightning. It was so terrifying that it made one's hair stand on end. As expected, you care about this woman very much. Using her to attract your attention so that my technique would condense at the moment when you were slightly absent-minded is indeed a clear choice. The gray-robed, middle-aged man stopped 3 feet away from Ji. Boom! In the sky, lightning filled the sky. Then, the power of fire appeared. The two intertwined, converging into a sea of lightning and a sea of fire. That terrifying power seemed to be able to devour everything. Moreover, as one looked over, lines of formation patterns intertwined in the sea of lightning and the sea of fire, like chains running through the sea of lightning and the sea of fire. Lin Tian raised his head, and his eyes shone brightly. To use formation patterns to attract heavenly lightning and heavenly fire, you need to be at least at the 7th level. The gray-robed, middle-aged man was moved, and his face darkened slightly. You really know a lot. Staring at Lin Tian, the gray-robed, middle-aged man was a little proud. I am a 7th-level array controller. Chapter 492. The middle-aged man in the gray robe had an arrogant look on his face. It was a kind of arrogance that came from his soul, as if he was a supreme being. Boom! In the sky, thunder rumbled and fire boiled. The two kinds of power intertwined and fused with the array pattern. It was terrifying. When this type of fluctuation appeared, not a single person's expression remained unchanged. Everyone was alarmed. Is this the Immortal's miracle? Some soldiers were very excited. Looking at the sky, the thunder and sea almost turned into an ocean. For some ordinary soldiers and martial artists, such a scene was incomprehensible. Master God! Master God! Master God! Many soldiers were shouting and cheering, all of them excited. The Master God who came to their country was indeed an invincible person. He could summon such a miraculous scene. This was borrowing the power of the heavens to destroy the enemy. Hiding behind Lin Tian, Ekin Qingyun's eyes widened. Brother-in-law Ji was also worried. He called out to Lin Tian softly. The thunder and fire above them were too terrifying. Lin Tian's eyes flashed with silver light. He shook his head at the two. I'm fine, he said. The middle-aged man in the gray robe snorted. You're fine? Hearing Lin Tian's words, the middle-aged man sneered with a hint of mockery. It seems that you know something about array manipulators. Then you should know how powerful a level 7 array manipulator is. Do you think you can block the thunder and fire from the array pattern? As if to support the middle-aged man in the gray robe, thunder rumbled in the sky. The fire and fire soared to the sky. Lin Tian ignored him. His eyes were very calm. For such self-righteous people, ignoring them would sometimes make them feel very uncomfortable. He just glanced at the middle-aged man in the gray robe and looked at the sky again. The gray-robed middle-aged man was slightly taken aback, and his expression darkened. He was an expert of the second celestial layer of the connecting immortal realm, and also a seventh-rank array manipulator. He was talking to Lin Tian, showing off his strength, saying how terrifying the heavenly thunder and heavenly fire were. But at this time, Lin Tian was completely ignoring him. This made him feel that he was being ignored, and a kind of anger rose in his heart. "I'm talking to you." The gray-robed middle-aged man glared at Lin Tian. Lin Tian merely glanced at the middle-aged man and ignored him. Instead, he stared intently at Lei Yin in the sky. To be honest, this level of heavenly lightning and heavenly fire was indeed terrifying. Seeing that Lin Tian was still ignoring him, the gray-robed middle-aged man's eyes turned completely cold. "Rude people, arrogant people, you shall be completely buried in the sea of heavenly lightning and heavenly fire." As he finished speaking, he pulled his right hand downward. Instantly, the heavenly lightning and heavenly fire surged and crashed down on Lin Tian and the others. Crack! 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 The void twisted, and crisp sounds rang out. Wherever the heavenly thunder and heavenly fire passed, it was difficult to preserve anything. For a moment, the light flooded the surroundings, and the surroundings were completely sealed off. "You don't have a chance to escape. Break into pieces," the gray-robed middle-aged man said. Within the area covered by the heavenly lightning and heavenly fire, the silver light in Lin Tian's eyes was extremely dense. Gradually, silver light spread out from every inch of his skin. The four symbols Dao diagram was condensed by him, covering Jiyu and Xinchunyan. His expression was calm. Light flickered, and a stone mirror rushed out of the stone ring, instantly revealing a faint, immortal aura. Boom! The heavenly lightning and heavenly fire crashed down from the sky, and the light covered all directions. No one could see what was happening inside. However, everyone had the same thought. Lin Tian and the others would definitely be destroyed. "They're dead meat. Do you even need to say that? Who can stop the Divine Master when he attacks?" Many soldiers said. The Wulaw King's expression relaxed. There was a short period of time before, and he was really on tenterhooks. The Wulaw King walked forward and bowed to the gray-robed middle-aged man. "Thank you for killing." Boom! Suddenly, an immortal light rushed out from the heavenly lightning and heavenly fire, directly destroying a large hall in the distance. In the center of the heavenly lightning and heavenly fire, Lin Tian had a stone mirror above his head. He slowly stepped out with Jiyu and Xinchunyan. He's still alive? How is this possible? Everyone's expression changed. Under such terrifying heavenly lightning and heavenly fire, there was still someone who could survive. Was he still human? Divine Master. The King trembled and stumbled back. Lin Tian had actually walked out alive from the heavenly lightning and heavenly fire summoned by the gray-robed middle-aged man. He was completely unscathed. Even the other two people were safe behind him. This caused the Black Luo King, who had just relaxed, to panic again. How could this young man be so terrifying? The gray-robed middle-aged man was also shocked. He stared at the stone mirror above Lin Tian's head, and his expression suddenly changed. Middle-grade immortal artifact. No. It's not just a mid-grade immortal artifact. It's almost a high-grade one. The heavenly lightning and heavenly fire you summoned doesn't seem to be very effective. Lin Tian stared at him. The stone mirror above his head vibrated, and an immortal light rushed out, directly breaking the sea of lightning and heavenly fire in the sky. He obtained the stone mirror in the second heaven. It was only a mid-grade immortal artifact, but when he was in the Burning Sun sect, he engraved immortal enhancement runes on it, increasing the power of this immortal artifact by a lot. In the sky, the heavenly lightning and heavenly fire collapsed. The gray-robed, middle-aged man's expression became gloomier. You have some skills. I have many skills, Lin Tian said calmly. He took a step forward, and the stone mirror above his head floated back and landed on Ji Yu's head. Protect you and him, he said to Ji Yu. After handing over the immortal artifact to Ji Yu, he was completely relieved and stepped forward. The gray-robed, middle-aged man's eyes narrowed, and he said coldly, Do you think you have the ability to compete with me after breaking the heavenly lightning and heavenly fire summoned by me? Naive. As he spoke, waves of tyrannical divine power rushed out of his body, and at the same time, astonishing soul power surged out. He waved his hands, instantly carving runes and runes all over the sky. Since you already know that I'm a 7th-tier array controller, you should know that I'm far stronger than ordinary 2nd-tier immortal cultivators. For me, even 3rd-tier immortal cultivators won't be able to withstand a single blow. Boom! As the gray-robed, middle-aged man's words fell, the runes in the sky intertwined, and divine light shone resplendently. Runes flew out, condensing from all directions. There were runes that restricted movement, runes that suppressed the flow of Zhen Yuan, runes that sealed space, and even some offensive runes. These runes combined together, and together with the gray-robed, middle-aged man's divine power, immediately caused the space to distort again. Very strong, very terrifying. Lin Tian felt a huge pressure. This gray-robed, middle-aged man was really not simple. Using runes and divine power together, his combat strength was no weaker than ordinary 4th-tier immortal cultivators. It was very shocking. However, he wasn't afraid of this, because he didn't just cultivate martial arts divine power. Compared to the other party, he dabbled in more. I know array controlling techniques too, he said coldly. His true essence went berserk as he activated the divining divine technique and propped up several types of king's domains. Then his hands moved continuously as he used the 5-dragon divine flash formation engraving technique. Similarly, he drew rune imprints in the void, confinement runes, formation runes that suppressed true essence, and some other formation runes appeared one by one as his hand seals appeared. The gray-robed, middle-aged man's face changed drastically. Lin Tian knew array controlling techniques too, and he was carving runes in the sky with his bare hands. This was at least at the 6th-tier standard. At this moment, Lin Tian moved. He stepped out and several types of king's territory pressed down together. At the same time, he activated the formation runes that were engraved in the void. Boom! For a moment, the king's territory lit up, and various runes showed their power. The collision between them was terrifying. The gray-robed, middle-aged man was deeply shocked. When he saw Lin Tian attacking, he reacted and hurriedly blocked. Boom! 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 The two collided continuously with the sky, divine power against divine power, and array runes against array runes. For a moment, they were actually evenly matched. The light illuminated the sky, causing everyone's expression to change. That person, he's actually fighting with a god master. And they're evenly matched? How can it be? This is impossible. It shouldn't be, the soldiers muttered to themselves. Ji Yu and Enchantment stared at the sky, both stunned, and their eyes kept flickering. So powerful. Lin Tian was so powerful. He can already engrave arrays in the sky. Ji Yu muttered to himself, half a year, I haven't seen him for more than half a year. Not only did he enter the Zephyr realm, but his array controlling skills have also reached the 6th-stage standard. How did he cultivate? Thinking back to the past, she was much stronger than Lin Tian, and she even went to protect Lin Tian. However, time passed in a flash. It had only been a year, and the man she wanted to protect back then had become so powerful now. With his 4th-stage Zephyr realm cultivation, he could actually fight with a 7th-stage array controlling master who was at the 2nd-stage immortal ascension realm. Thinking of this, she was a little stunned, and then she smiled. She still remembered what Lin Tian said to her in the Valley of the Harp. If I'm not stronger than you, how can I protect you? That's great. Looking at the young man fighting in the sky, she felt that the young man was like a god. Boom! In the sky, divine light rolled. An array runes filled the sky. Boom! 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 In the sky, the two figures collided from time to time, and blood appeared. In the end, they were both sent flying backward. The gray-robed, middle-aged man's clothes were messy, and his hair was a little messy. There was a bloody scar on his chest, and he was panting. Opposite him, Lin Tian was not much better. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, and the hand holding the sword was trembling. He stared at the gray-robed, middle-aged man opposite him, his eyes shining brightly. A second-stage immortal ascension realm and seventh-stage array, controlling master, was indeed terrifying and difficult to deal with. However, in the end, it was just difficult to deal with, not impossible. He had great confidence in himself. Staring at the gray-robed, middle-aged man, his eyes cold, he stepped forward again. Stop! Chapter 493. Lin Tian's footsteps came to a halt. Pinbooknet. What? Are you going to beg for mercy? He said indifferently. The middle-aged man's face darkened. He snorted and said, We're both array manipulators, and I want to talk to you. I have nothing to talk to you about. Lin Tian. He took a step forward, and a quasi-immortal sword appeared in his hand, flickering with sinister light. You'd better listen to me. This will be of great benefit to you. Of course, I also want to borrow your strength. The middle-aged man said. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes and stopped in his tracks. He was a little curious about what the middle-aged man wanted to say to him. Seeing that Lin Tian stopped, the middle-aged man's right hand trembled, and a dense array pattern appeared. Soundproof pattern. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes. Soundproof pattern could block the sound within a certain range and prevent it from spreading outside. There are some things that ants don't have the right to hear, the middle-aged man said. Hearing this, Lin Tian was even more curious. He didn't say anything and just stared at the middle-aged man, waiting for him to continue. Looking at Lin Tian's expression, the middle-aged man knew that Lin Tian was waiting for him to speak. You should know what the world we live in is like, right? Staring at Lin Tian, the old man said, I'm talking about the great world. Lin Tian's expression was calm. An old drunkard had asked him this question before. He said, The 10 heavens. The gray-robed, middle-aged man nodded. Since you know about the 10 directions heavenly domain, then you should know about other matters as well. It is said that as long as one breaks through the 10th heavenly layer and enters the 10th heavenly layer, they will be able to achieve immortality, sharing the same lifespan as the heavens and earth, achieving eternity. What are you trying to say? Get to the point. Lin Tian frowned. The middle-aged man snorted. He was a little unhappy with Lin Tian's attitude. However, at this moment, the middle-aged man didn't say anything. At this moment, his expression became cold and arrogant. He said, The array manipulators want to break through the 10th heaven. Lin Tian was expressionless. He said coldly, Break through the 10th heaven? Since ancient times, who didn't want to break it? As he spoke, Lin Tian's expression suddenly changed. You're saying that you're not the only array manipulator? The gray-robed, middle-aged man was quite satisfied with Lin Tian's reaction. You're finally paying attention. The gray-robed, middle-aged man laughed arrogantly. Lin Tian frowned and stared straight at the gray-robed, middle-aged man. At this moment, he recalled what the president of the Imperial City's Array Manipulator Guild had said to him when he was still in the Imperial City. He said that in the Chongtian domain, the Array Manipulator Guild seemed to be plotting something. They were trying their best to rope in some powerful array manipulators. He warned him that if he encountered such a situation, he must not get involved with them, let alone rope in some array manipulators. He had a vague feeling that this gray-robed, middle-aged man had something to do with the matter that the president of the Imperial City's Array Manipulator Guild had mentioned to him. When he thought of this, his expression turned solemn. In that case, you have many powerful array manipulators? He pretended to be careful and asked. Seeing Lin Tian's expression change and his tone become cautious, the gray-robed, middle-aged man was delighted. Of course, very many. The gray-robed, middle-aged man said. Lin Tian's heart sank. He pretended to be more careful and asked tentatively, You gathered together because the gray-robed, middle-aged man laughed arrogantly. Didn't I say before? To break through the 10th heaven's barrier and achieve eternal immortality. Lin Tian frowned. He paused and said, Break through the 10th heaven's barrier? It shouldn't be that easy. Since ancient times, there have been a few powerhouses who reached the end of the chaos, but they couldn't break through the 10th heaven's barrier. If those powerhouses couldn't break through, then no matter how many ordinary people gathered together, it would be useless, right? At this moment, his expression was no longer careful, and his tone was slightly deeper. Of course, he was also acting. After all, the 10th heaven's barrier was really difficult to break through. No, it should be said that there was no hope. At this moment, his tone was slightly more serious so that he could draw out the other party's next words. Sure enough, seeing Lin Tian frowning again and no longer being as careful as before, the gray-robed middle-aged man snorted. Of course it won't be that easy. Therefore, the array manipulators have been preparing for a long time. This preparation started after the disappearance of the array emperor. After many generations, until my generation, I don't know how long it has been. Time flies. Finally, the array manipulators have the hope of realizing God's wish in this generation. As he spoke, a trace of fanaticism appeared on the gray-robed, middle-aged man's face. Breaking through the 10th heaven's barrier was the dream of all cultivators. Lin Tian's heart sank. The array emperor? One of the 9 great celestial lords, a supreme powerhouse who specialized in the study of arrays. What do you mean by preparation? What is going on? Staring at the gray-robed, middle-aged man, Lin Tian's expression became cautious again. He asked, back then, even the array emperor couldn't break through the 10th heaven's barrier. As he spoke, he looked at the gray-robed, middle-aged man with a puzzled expression. Clearly, he was waiting for the other party to continue and wanted to get more information out of him. The two of them stood in the sky, motionless. This caused many people in the Euro Palace to reveal strange expressions. That person and the Divine Master. Why? Why aren't they moving? What are they doing? They seem to be saying something. But why can't I hear anything? I can't hear anything either. Me too. Many people were puzzled. Jiyu and Xi and Qingyun stood together. The immortal artifact stone mirror was controlled by Jiyu. Both of them looked at the sky. In the sky, Lin Tian and the gray-robed middle-aged man were 50 feet apart. A breeze blew past. Hearing Lin Tian ask what he was preparing, the gray-robed middle-aged man's expression became cautious. He stared at Lin Tiandao and said, You look about 17 years old this year, but you have already reached the 6th stage of array control. You are definitely a top genius in the field of array control. That's why I want to talk to you. However, what I want to talk to you about is a core secret of array control. I can't tell you so easily. You need to show some sincerity. Lin Tian frowned. He naturally understood what the other party meant. He looked at the other party, paused, and pretended to be very serious. He asked, Is there really hope to break through the 10th heaven? Seeing Lin Tian's serious expression, the gray-robed middle-aged man felt that Lin Tian was attracted and nodded. Lin Tian's expression became serious. He struggled. After a while, his expression finally became firm. He raised his left hand and raised the 3 fingers in the middle. He said solemnly, I swear on my Tao heart that I will not reveal a single bit of what I hear today. In the future, I will join the Array Control sect with fellow Taoist Gray and contribute to the Array Control sect's divine will. If I violate this oath, I will definitely face the immortal heavenly tribulation and be struck by lightning. The gray-robed middle-aged man was moved. He finally smiled and said, Good. Since ancient times, cultivators didn't dare to casually swear. Now that Lin Tian had made such a vicious oath to himself, the gray-robed middle-aged man immediately believed Lin Tian completely. Can you say it now? Lin Tian's expression was a little ugly. He said in a deep voice. Of course, this ugly expression was also intentional. It was just to numb the other party as much as possible. The gray-robed middle-aged man laughed. Young man, don't be like this. Your oath is very valuable. You won't be disappointed. As he spoke, the gray-robed, middle-aged man's expression became more serious and arrogant. He said, "The barrier of the 10th heaven in the 10 heavens is unimaginably strong. Even the heavenly venerables at the end of the chaos couldn't break it. However, no matter how strong the heavenly venerables are, they're only one person. One person's strength is ultimately limited." After the death of the Array Emperor, we, the Array Manipulator branch, have gathered countless powerful array manipulators from different eras to construct a vast immortal heavenly array. With this immortal heavenly array as the foundation and the power of all living beings in the future, we will definitely be able to break through the barrier of the 10th heaven. Even if we can only create a large crack, our entire array manipulator branch will be able to enter the 10th heaven. The gray-robed, middle-aged man's eyes were filled with divine light. Immortal Sky Array? Power of all living beings? Lin Tian was puzzled. The gray-robed array control master nodded. He stared at Lin Tian and said, "The array control sect resides above the 9th heaven and belongs to the Desolation Shrine. We are the holy sect of array masters." The gray-robed, middle-aged man continued. "The immortal sky array is the result of countless powerful array control masters' lifetime understanding of array Tao. It is the most powerful divine array in history. Its power is boundless. As for the power of all living beings, that is what I am collecting now." The gray-robed, middle-aged man spread out his hand, and a soul shadow appeared in his palm. The soul shadow was struggling madly, exuding a bloody aura and a resentful aura. "I came from the 9th heaven to collect these blood souls. When these blood souls are gathered together, they will become the power of all living beings." Lin Tian stared at the blood soul in the gray-robed, middle-aged man's hand. He was very familiar with this blood soul. It was one of the blood souls he saw outside an ancient city that was massacred in northern Flame Country not long ago. At that time, the blood soul had drifted away. He didn't expect it to be collected by this gray-robed old man. His eyes turned cold, and he clenched his fists. His guess was right. Everything was the work of this man. The massacre of the 13 cities was indeed ordered by this man. Thinking of the ordinary people that were brutally massacred in the 13 cities and the blood souls that he saw struggling, he wasn't even surprised that the gray-robed, middle-aged man came from the 9th heaven. He only felt a stifling feeling in his chest. You don't have to feel sorry for these ordinary people. They are just ants, not worth mentioning. The gray-robed, middle-aged man kept the blood soul and smiled proudly at Lin Tian. "I am the descendant of a big shot in the Desolation Shrine. Therefore, I know a lot of things. Not long ago, I came to the 1st heaven with a special method to collect the power of all living beings." Looking at Lin Tian, the gray-robed, middle-aged man continued. "You're only 17 years old, and your array control technique has already reached such a high level. In the future, come with me. We will collect more power of all living beings in this heaven realm, and then return to the Desolation Shrine together. If you follow me, you will be able to obtain a lot. Your future achievements will be limitless, and your future will be smooth sailing. Most importantly, in the future, we will be able to step into the 10th heaven, which no one has ever entered before, and obtain an immortal body. Of course, I also said that during this process, I will need your array control technique. You will have to help me do some things." Lin Tian was really too outstanding. At the age of 17, he had already reached the 6th order array control technique. Such talent in the Tao of arrays could be said to be unprecedented, almost comparable to that of the array heavenly sovereign. This really moved the gray-robed middle-aged man. If he could take Lin Tian under his wing, he would definitely be able to help him achieve great things in the future. Therefore, he told Lin Tian all this. One had to know that although he was the descendant of a big shot in the Desolation Shrine, and his status was not low, there were many people of the same age as him in the Desolation Shrine. He had come to the 1st heaven this time to collect some blood souls and offer them to the Desolation Shrine. "Are you done?" Lin Tian opened his mouth. The gray-robed, middle-aged man smiled and nodded. "That's about it." "Okay, come with me. First, poo." A sword light streaked across the middle-aged man's chest. It was so fast that it left a deep and bloody wound on his chest. So much so that even his bones could be seen. The gray-robed, middle-aged man screamed and staggered back in the void. The soundproof runes also collapsed. What are you doing? Chapter 494. The headless corpse fell from the sky and landed on the ground of the Rose royal palace. Blood spurted out from his throat. Please search Product and Book Yin Network to see the most complete novel. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. God Tier Master was dead? How could this be? All the soldiers were stunned. In the distance, the jade in front of the Rose King's chest shattered. He sat on the ground, trembling. At this time, even Xian Qingyan and Jiyu were stunned. Lin Tian killed a second heaven-reaching immortal. Super brother-in-law. Xian Qingyan was excited. His eyes were shining. A transcending celestial realm powerhouse was a godlike existence in the mortal world. But now, Lin Tian had killed such a powerhouse all by himself. Jiyu was also stunned. Lin Tian really had the strength to kill a celestial-reaching immortal. In the sky, Lin Tian tilted his head and smiled at Jiyu and Xian Qingyan. He put away the stone mirror and quasi-immortal sword and descended. He landed beside the headless corpse of the gray-robed man and stared at the corpse. In fact, it was very difficult for him to kill the gray-robed man. After all, the gray-robed man was not only a second heaven-reaching immortal, but also a seventh-stage array manipulator. If he fought with him with all his strength, it was hard to say who would win. However, after the other party recognized the eternal killing formation outside his body, he immediately sank into fear. He no longer dared to clash head-on with him. His battle chi had completely declined to the bottom, and he only knew how to flee. As such, he was killed by him in a short period of time. From this point, he once again experienced how terrifying the 9 celestial lords were. Just an incomplete technique was enough to cause such a powerful enemy to be so terrified and lose his will to fight. One could imagine how terrifying the 9 celestial lords were when they were alive. They must have been invincible existences who could suppress the heavens with a single hand. It was not a legend that they could suppress everything. Those 9 people were so terrifying. The light in his eyes intertwined as he looked up at the sky. The 9th layer of heaven, the desolate shrine. In the past, he had heard the guild leader of the royal city's Array Manipulator Guild mention that the Array Manipulator lineage of the upper heaven realm might be plotting something, but he didn't expect it to be so grand. They had actually spent countless years gathering all of the powerful Array Manipulators to inscribe an immortal heavenly formation in hopes of breaking through the barrier of the 10th layer. More importantly, the source of the formation was actually the souls of living beings. Presumably, in the past, there were some Array Manipulators who were not willing to join the Array Manipulators and discovered some clues. Therefore, they left behind some records which were known by later generations of Array Manipulators. Of course, these clues were just a bad premonition of the Array Manipulators back then. They only felt that the Array Manipulators in the upper echelon had some kind of scheme, but as for the specifics, they did not know. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes. This time, he really discovered a big secret in the first heaven. After a pause, he shook his head and looked at the corpse of the gray-robed, middle-aged man again. He found a blood-stained stone ring next to the corpse and took it. He scanned it with his Zhenyuan and found that the space inside the stone ring was surprisingly large. It was more than 10,000 cubic meters. Moreover, there were densely packed things inside. It was a bit scary. He used his divine sense to invade the ring. There were many pills inside, almost all of which were 4th grade Baodan. There were even some 5th grade Baodan. Of course, these were not the most important things. The most important thing was that he found a lot of divine ability manuals in the stone ring. There were Earth Extinguishing Wheel, God Destroying Pagoda, Immortal Fire Palace, Frost Sword, and other divine ability manuals. Not too strong, but not too weak either. The collection is really rich, Lin Tian muttered to himself. The gray-robed, middle-aged man's stone ring contained many fourth-grade and above Baodan, as well as more than a dozen divine ability manuals. This could be regarded as a huge fortune. The gray-robed, middle-aged man should have collected them from all over the years. Needless to say, the value of fourth-grade and above Baodan was amazing. As for the dozen or so divine ability manuals, although they were not very attractive to him now, he could give them to Jiyu, Su Shu, and the people of the Burning Sun sect to cultivate, including the 2 high great immortal swords that he had seized from the other party, and the 2 quasi-immortal swords that he had obtained from the 2 Zephyr Realm powerhouses. All of these things could be said to be a huge treasure trove. He put away the stone ring and prepared to organize it later. Brother-in-law, Xi and Qingyun ran over. Ji followed and asked, "Are you okay?" She found that Lin Tian was seriously injured before. Lin Tian shook his head and said with a smile, "It's just a small injury." This was the truth. He had experienced many battles. Although he was seriously injured in this battle, it was really nothing. Ji nodded and smiled peacefully. She was finally relieved. For a moment, the 3 of them turned their heads and looked at the front of the Euro Imperial Palace. In front of the Euro Imperial Palace, the Euro Emperor trembled as he met the gazes of the 3 people. Especially Lin Tian's gaze. He could not help but tremble violently. He felt as if all the strength in his body had been sucked away. His eyes were filled with fear. Lin Tian strode forward with Xi and Qingyun and Jiyu behind him. There were many soldiers and generals in front of them. They were not weak, but when they saw Lin Tian and the other 2 walking over, they all trembled and made way for them. What a joke! Lin Tian had killed a god-tier master. He was as terrifying as a god. After witnessing the fierce battle just now, who would dare to stand in front of him? They were simply courting death. Soon, Lin Tian arrived in front of the Euro Emperor. You, the Euro Emperor trembled, and the fear in his eyes deepened. "Now, can we have a good talk?" Lin Tiandao said. "Talk? What do you want to talk about?" The Euro Emperor trembled. Xi and Qingyun snorted, and his eyes were filled with coldness and anger. He shouted, "Your Euro country destroyed 13 cities of our Beiyin country and even killed all the innocent people in those 13 cities. What do you think my brother-in-law wants to talk to you about?" The Euro Emperor trembled and stared at Lin Tian in fear. Lin Tiandao said, "Although the mastermind is that middle-aged man in gray robes, you are also an accomplice. You can't avoid the responsibility. I won't kill you, but I will compensate you. Give half of the Euro royal family's resources to the Beiyin royal family, give up 52 cities, and publicly apologize to the Beiyin country. Then we will forget about this matter. Do you have any objections?" Hearing this, the Euro Emperor trembled even more. Half of the Euro royal family's resources, giving up 52 cities as compensation, was equivalent to half of the Euro country being destroyed. However, even so, the Euro Emperor did not dare to have any objections. He could only nod and agree. No objections. The battle between Lin Tian and the gray-robed middle-aged man was like a god or a demon. It would not take much effort for him to destroy the Uro's royal palace. Knowing Lin Tian's strength, how could the king of Uro's have the courage to resist? That would be asking for trouble. "All right, I hope you can complete this in half a month." Lin Tiandao did not say anything after that. He turned around and left. Jiyu and Xi and Qingyun followed beside him. Soon, the 3 of them disappeared from the Euro royal family. At this time, everyone in the Euro royal family heaved a sigh of relief. It was as if the Demon King had left. The Euro Emperor coughed out a mouthful of blood and fainted on the spot. Many soldiers were shocked and quickly ran over. Lin Tian and the other 2 did not stop after leaving the Euro royal family. They left the Euro royal family and returned to the Beiyin country. "Brother-in-law, how are you so powerful?" Along the way, Xi and Qingyun stared at Lin Tian, his eyes almost popping out of their sockets. His eyes were filled with light and worship. "Because I am a genius." Lin Tian laughed. He did not feel restrained when he was with his friends. He was very comfortable. Then, brother-in-law, lend me some of your genius radiance. Xi and Qingyan laughed. Get lost. Lin Tian scolded him. Jiyu looked at the two with a peaceful smile on his beautiful face. He did not interrupt their conversation. 2 days later, the three of them returned to the Beiyin country camp. You're finally back. It's good that you're fine. It's good that you're fine. Zhu Yi and Ji Yuanshan came out to welcome them. The two of them did not ask about the outcome of the trip. They were already very happy to see the three of them return safely. After all, the three of them had gone to the Euro royal family. The two of them were so worried that they could not sleep. Fortunately, the soldiers of the Euro royal family did not invade the Beiyin country in the past few days, so the two of them could relax a little. Fine? How can you be fine? This is serious. Xi and Qingyan said. Xi and Qingyan immediately told them about how Lin Tian showed off his power in the Euro royal family. Zhu Yi and Ji Yuanshan's expressions changed drastically. Lin Tian broke into the Euro royal family and killed an immortal ascension cultivator alone. Ji Yuanshan turned his head with difficulty and looked at his granddaughter. It's true, Grandpa, Ji said. This time, Ji Yuanshan and Zhu Yi were really shocked. A young man, Ji Yuanshan sighed. He was only 17 years old, but he already had such strength. Zhu Yi was even more agitated. When he heard Xi and Qingyan mention that Lin Tian wanted the Black Luo country's emperor to hand over half of the royal family's resources to the Northern Flame royal family and give up 52 cities to the Northern Flame country, his eyes shone with tears. One must know that this was a huge amount of wealth to a country. He bowed to Lin Tian. Thank you. Thank you very much. Don't be like this. We're friends. It's only right to help a friend. Lin Tian quickly stopped Zhu Yi's actions. Zhu Yi scratched his head in embarrassment. I'm being unreasonable, but this is really... What Lin Tian did today was unimaginably important to the future development of the Beiyin country. As the current emperor of the Beiyin country, Zhu Yi did not know what to say to express his gratitude. All right, let's go back. Before we came, we agreed to prepare a banquet to celebrate. Lin Tian smiled. Of course. Of course. Zhu Yi nodded heavily. On this day, the group returned to the Beiyin country. It took them 3 days to return to the Beiyin royal city. Almost on the day of their return, Zhu Yi announced as the emperor of the Beiyin country that the war with the Euro country had ended with the victory of the Beiyin country. The Euro country would give 52 cities and compensate half of their resources to the Beiyin royal family. They would also publicly apologize to the Beiyin royal family. This made everyone in the Beiyin royal city happy. After that, Zhu Yi announced again that he and all the ancestors of the Beiyin royal family would confer Lin Tian as the eternal emperor of the Beiyin country. He would have the same power as the founding emperor of the Beiyin country. He could impeach the future emperor of the Beiyin country and appoint a new emperor at any time. He had supreme power, even more than the emperor and ancestors of the Beiyin country. In the Beiyin royal palace, Lin Tian heard this and could not help but smile bitterly. He said to Zhu Yi, "This is too much." "Not at all," Zhu Yi said seriously. "If it weren't for you, the Beiyin country would have been destroyed. The people of the Beiyin country would have suffered a great disaster. It's no exaggeration to say that you are the savior of the Beiyin country." Then, Zhu Yi suddenly felt embarrassed. He said, "But, speaking of which, this title is definitely useless to you. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.